welcome to this story, where we embark on a quiet journey through a medieval town bathed in the soft glow of moonlight. As you step through the winding cobblestone streets, you encounter a world of peace and stillness, where time seems to slow down. The town breathes softly, its ancient stone walls and weathered beams holding secrets of centuries past. Lanterns flicker faintly, casting gentle patterns on the ground, while the distant toll of a bell adds to the calming rhythm of the night. Along the way, you pass silent courtyards, frost-covered gardens, and humble homes, each one contributing to the town's tranquil atmosphere. Cats slip through shadows, windows glow with the warmth of hidden hearths, and the scent of fresh herbs and wood smoke fills the cool air. The quiet path leads to moments of reflection beneath ancient oaks and dry fountains, offering a deep sense of peace and timeless serenity. This town, with its silent stories and peaceful embrace, invites you to rest and surrender to the soft arms of sleep. The night air is crisp as you step onto the narrow cobblestone lane that winds through the heart of the medieval village. Each stone beneath your feet a silent witness to centuries of history. The sky above is a canvas of stars, twinkling faintly through the soft mist that clings to the edges of the town. As you walk, the buildings around you lean in gently, their stone walls darkened by the passage of time. Their wooden beams carved with intricate patterns that speak of an era long past. The quiet hum of the town, a symphony of rustling leaves, distant calls of night creatures, and the occasional creak of a shutter fills the air. But it is the silence that stands out the most. There is an undeniable peace here, a deep, enveloping stillness that seems to hold the world in a gentle embrace. The moon, hanging high in the sky, casts long shadows across the path, stretching the contours of the ancient walls and softening the jagged edges of times where, passing beneath a low archway, you find yourself in a secluded square. Its center dominated by a large stone well, its rim worn smooth by the hands of countless villagers who have come to draw water over the centuries. A wooden bench, its surface polished by years of use, sits beside the well, inviting you to rest, to pause and breathe in the serenity of the moment. The faint aroma of dried herbs drifts from a small garden tucked against the wall of a nearby house, rosemary and thyme, mingling with the cool night air, grounding you in the present while carrying hints of warmer days. You continue your walk, moving slowly, deliberately, your footsteps falling in rhythm with the soft murmur of the town around you. The narrow street curves gently, leading you past houses with low wooden doors and small windows, their panes glowing faintly with the warmth of hearth fires that have long since died down. The stone cobbles beneath your feet are uneven, some raised slightly like the steps of an ancient melody, others sunken from years of use, and your pace is unhurried, matching the peaceful cadence of the night. As you pass a small alleyway, a cat appears, its sleek fur blending seamlessly with the shadows, its golden eyes reflecting the faint light of the moon. It watches you for a moment before slipping silently into the darkness, its presence a quiet reminder of the untold stories that unfold in the hidden corners of this place. The lane narrows further as you approach an archway carved from a single slab of stone, its surface smooth from centuries of hands and feet passing beneath. You pass through, entering a part of the village where time seems to slow even more, where the air is thick with the weight of history. Small windows peek out from behind thick stone walls, their glass rippled and uneven, catching the faint moonlight and reflecting it back like distant memories. The roofs above sag gently, their thatch and tiles patched with care, a testament to the resilience of this place, its quiet endurance through the ages. Along the side of the path, a small strip of garden clings to life beneath a thin cover of frost, its hardy herbs nodding softly in the breeze, their scent faint but unmistakable, a promise of life returning in the warmer months ahead. At the edge of the garden, a weathered wooden bench sits beneath a bare tree, its surface worn smooth by years of use, offering a brief respite to those who pass through. You take a moment here, letting the stillness of the night sink into your bones, feeling the peace that settles over the town like a blanket, gentle and all-encompassing. The moon climbs higher, casting longer shadows across the street as the buildings seem to stretch toward the sky, their outlines softened by the light. The quiet is almost palpable now, as if the entire village is holding its breath, waiting for something unseen, something unknown. As you continue your journey, the lane opens into a small courtyard, the ground covered in a light dusting of frost that glistens in the moonlight like scattered diamonds. In the center stands a dry fountain, its basin empty, save for a scattering of fallen leaves and the remnants of winter's grip. Around the fountain, the stone benches curve in quiet invitation, worn smooth by countless souls who have sat here, finding solace in the company of silence. The air is crisp, and as you inhale, the scent of pine and earth mingles with the cool breath of the night. Every detail of this place seems designed to encourage pause, to encourage reflection, to remind you of the deep calm that settles over this village like a whisper. Linger here for a moment, allowing the weight of the night to press gently upon you, feeling the world slow even more. The heartbeats of the village and its people sinking with the slow, steady rhythm of the night. The stars above remain constant, watching over this quiet place as they have for centuries, their light soft and steady. And as you continue your journey through the sleeping streets, you realize that this place is less a town and more a living poem. Each silence a stanza, each shadow a line, each breath a verse sung without words but felt deeply in the heart. Each step you take feels like you are becoming more entwined with the rhythm of this poem, each moment drawing you deeper into its embrace. The boundary between you and the night begins to blur, and all that remains is the perfect stillness of a world at rest, waiting patiently for the dawn. The moonlight filters softly through the gnarled branches of an ancient tree, casting a silvery glow upon the narrow cobblestone path that winds through the heart of the village. The air is cool, tinged with the faint scent of pine and earth, carrying the remnants of the night's quiet breath. The town is still, save for the occasional rustle of leaves stirred by a breeze that whispers through the streets like a memory carried from long ago. Your footsteps echo softly against the stone, their sound almost swallowed by the deep hush that blankets this medieval village, where time seems to move more slowly, each moment stretching out as if to savor the quiet peace that reigns here. As you walk, you pass by the remnants of a long-forgotten marketplace. Its once vibrant stalls, now nothing more than decaying skeletons of wood and stone, their frames weathered by years of neglect and exposure to the elements. The ground is uneven here, the stones cracked and uneven, their surfaces worn smooth by the passage of countless footsteps. Yet there is a certain beauty in the decay, a quiet reverence for the way time leaves its mark on everything it touches. Stop for a moment, surveying the area. The faint outlines of the old market stalls still visible in the arrangement of stones beneath your feet, their footprints preserved like an ancient memory beneath a carpet of moss and fallen leaves. The faintest hint of dried herbs lingers in the air, a ghost of the bustling trade that once filled this place with life and laughter. A wooden crate, forgotten and half buried beneath a blanket of frost, sits in the corner, its sides cracked and weathered by the years, and as you glance at it, you imagine the countless hands that once sorted and arranged goods within it. The exchange of wares, the friendly chatter of villagers coming together to barter and trade. The faintest hint of the past lingers in the silence here, as if the marketplace is holding its breath, waiting for the bustle to return, even though that time has long passed. You continue your journey, moving slowly, taking in the subtle beauty of this place, the quiet elegance of a world that has been shaped by the hands of those who have come before. Each stone, each building, each forgotten alleyway telling a story of a time that once was. The path narrows further, winding its way between two houses whose walls lean in toward one another, creating a sort of intimate tunnel that seems to whisper secrets as you pass. The air is thick with the smell of damp earth and the faintest hint of wood smoke, a comforting aroma that seems to welcome you, wrapping you in its warm embrace as you move deeper into the heart of the village. The houses here are older, their stone walls rough and weathered, their windows small and irregular, peeking out like eyes that have witnessed centuries of life and change. There is a beauty in their imperfections, a quiet resilience that speaks to the endurance of this village, to the people who have lived here and passed through, leaving their mark upon the land in ways both subtle and profound. You stop once, gay, again, drawn by the peaceful solitude of this place, the way the world seems to slow down around you as you take it all in. The moon is high now, casting long, thin shadows across the cobblestones, and as you gaze up at the sky, you feel a deep sense of connection to this place, to the people who have walked these streets before you, to the generations that have come and gone. There is a timelessness here, an unspoken understanding that life continues, even in the quietest of places, even in the most forgotten corners of the world. As you continue your journey, you pass beneath an archway, its stone worn smooth by the touch of countless hands, and emerge into a small courtyard, its center dominated by a large stone well, its surface rough and weathered, its rim polished, cathed by the hands that have come to draw water from it over the years. The courtyard is peaceful, almost serene, its stone benches worn smooth by the passage of time, each one a silent witness to the quiet moments of reflection and rest that have taken place here. You sit on one of the benches, feeling the cool stone beneath you, and close your eyes for a moment, allowing the stillness to seep into your bones, allowing the quiet rhythm of the town to wash over you. The wind stirs gently, rustling the leaves of the trees that surround the courtyard, and the soft murmur of the brook that runs nearby adds a gentle soundtrack to the evening's stillness. For a moment, it feels as if the world has stopped moving, as if the only thing that matters is the peaceful solitude of this place. Cache. You open your eyes and look around, taking in the beauty of the courtyard, the way the moonlight dances across the stone, casting long, graceful shadows that stretch across the cobblestones. The faint scent of pine and earth mingles with the smell of the well, and you feel a deep sense of calm settle over you, as if you have found a place of refuge in the heart of this medieval village, a place where time slows down and the weight of the world can be forgotten. As you rise from the bench and continue your journey, the courtyard seems to fade behind you, its stillness lingering in your mind as you walk along the winding path that leads you deeper into the village. The houses here are older, their stone walls darkened with age, their roofs sagging slightly under the weight of time. The air is thick with the smell of wood smoke, and the faint light from the windows casts a warm glow on the cobblestones. You feel as if you are walking through a dream, a world suspended in time, where the past and present intertwine in a seamless dance. The path curves gently, leading you toward the outskirts of the village, where the houses begin to thin out, and the land opens up into fields and meadows that stretch out toward the horizon. The quiet beauty of this place settles over you like a soft blanket, wrapping you in a sense of peace and contentment that you cannot quite explain, but you know that it is a gift, a rare and precious moment in a world that is constantly in motion. The village, with its forgotten marketplace and quiet streets, has become a part of you now, woven into the fabric of your being in ways both subtle and profound. You feel connected to it, as if the stories of the past are whispering to you from the stones beneath your feet, urging you to listen, to remember, and to find peace in the stillness that surrounds you. The night air carries the crisp scent of pine and earth, the lingering freshness of the evening deepening as the moon climbs higher in the sky, casting a cool, silvery light across the village. As you walk through the narrow, cobbled streets, the silence wraps around you like a comforting blanket, each step echoing softly against the ancient stone, as if the village itself is holding its breath. The houses, thick with the wear of time, stand close together, their stone walls weathered and darkened by years of exposure, while wooden beams above stretch out like skeletal arms, their surfaces carved with delicate patterns that speak of a time long past. The flicker of candlelight dances behind small, shuttered windows, casting faint, warm glows onto the cobbles, but otherwise the town is still. Each corner, each doorway, each forgotten alleyway seems to hold its secrets close, unwilling to share them with the world. You pass beneath a low archway, the stone worn smooth in the center from the countless feet that have passed through it over the centuries, and find yourself standing before a humble chapel. The stone walls rise tall and silent, their surface moss-covered and weathered, while the arched doorframe looms dark and inviting. A bell tower rises above, its silhouette sharp against the deepening sky. Though no bell tolls at this hour, leaving the air heavy with an unspoken sense of reverence, the chapel stands at the edge of the village, a quiet sentinel amidst the houses, its modest structure a testament to the enduring faith of the people who have passed through its doors, seeking solace, prayer, and peace. You step closer, the gravel beneath your feet crunching softly in the stillness, and pause at the doorway, feeling the weight of the chapel's presence press against the night. The wooden doors, thick and darkened by age, stand slightly ajar, as if the chapel itself beckons you in, offering a space for reflection and quiet. You push the door open gently, and the faint scent of incense mingles with the cool night air, wrapping round you like a delicate embrace. Inside, the dim light from a single candle flickers faintly, casting long shadows across the stone floor, its faint glow a quiet contrast to the deep blackness beyond. The air is still here, heavy with centuries of prayers and whispered confessions, and as you step forward, your footsteps echo in the cavernous space, the sound both foreign and intimate in this sacred room. The chapel is simple, its stone walls, unadorned except for a few faded tapestries hanging from the beams above, their colors muted by time and exposure. The altar at the far end is bare except for a few flowers placed in a small vase, their delicate petals pale in the candlelight, and a stone basin for holy water stands nearby, its surface worn by the touch of countless hands. The quiet beauty, calm of the chapel fills the space, a calm presence that seems to transcend the years, the centuries of life that have passed in the village. You sit down on one of the wooden pews, the rough-hewn surface cool beneath your fingers, and breathe deeply, allowing the stillness of the space to sink into your bones. The quiet hum of the night outside seems far away now, replaced by the deeper silence of the chapel, where time slows and the world feels as though it has come to rest. The faintest whisper of wind outside stirs the leaves in the trees, but inside, the chapel, the air is thick with history, with the memories of countless souls who have sought comfort here, their prayers echoing softly against the stone walls. You close your eyes for a moment, listening to the heartbeat of the chapel, the quiet rhythm of the place that has stood for centuries, a steadfast witness to the passage of time, a distant creak of a shuttered window, a soft rustle of leaves. In the breeze and the faint murmur of the brook nearby are the only sounds that break the silence, but here, in this sacred space, the world outside feels distant, irrelevant. The chapel is a sanctuary, its simplicity offering a peace that seems to cleanse the soul, offering rest and respite from the burdens of the world. As you open your eyes, your gaze falls upon the small wooden cross that hangs above the altar, its surface worn smooth by the touch of many hands, and you feel a deep sense of connection, a reminder that this space has been a source of comfort for many, a place where the weary have come to find peace, where the lost have found direction, and where the lonely have found solace. The quiet beauty of this place, its simplicity and serenity, fills your heart with a sense of calm, and as you sit there, the hours slip by unnoticed. Each passing moment a reminder of the enduring peace that this chapel offers. The town outside seems far away now, its streets silent beneath the weight of the night, while here, inside the chapel, time moves slowly, as though the very walls themselves are breathing, holding the memory of all who have come before. The candle flickers softly in the corner, its light dancing on the stone floor, and you feel a sense of connection to the countless souls who have sat where you sit now, their thoughts, prayers, and hopes filling the space, blending together into the quiet murmur of the chapel's timeless embrace. For a moment, you are no longer just a visitor in this place, but a part of its history, a thread woven into the fabric of its silent story. As the candle's light continues to flicker, you rise from the pew, feeling the weight of the night settle over you once more. You step back into the cool air, the village awaiting you, still and quiet, its cobblestone streets leading you back into its embrace. The chapel stands behind you, its doors closed softly, its presence lingering in the quiet night. You continue your journey through the village, each step a gentle rhythm, each breath a reminder of the peace that the chapel has gifted you. The sound of the wind rustles the trees again, and you realize that the chapel, like the village, has become a part of you, its stillness and serenity woven into the very fabric of your being. The night continues to stretch on, and the village sleeps beneath the stars, its ancient buildings standing guard over the memories and stories of the past. As you walk, the chapel fades into the background, but its quiet embrace lingers with you, a soft, enduring presence that fills your heart with peace and whispers of rest to come. The night deepens, and the air grows cooler, carrying the scent of damp earth and the faint fragrance of pine from the surrounding forest. The village, bathed in the soft silver light of the moon, seems even quieter now, the streets stretching out like forgotten ribbons beneath the blanket of the sky. As you continue your journey, the cobblestones beneath your feet shift from rough and uneven to smoother stretches, worn by countless footsteps, their surfaces polished by time. The buildings around you stand in close-knit clusters, their walls solid and dark, their windows shuttered tight against the cool night. But despite the stillness, there is a sense of quiet energy here, a pulse that resonates in the very stones and beams that form this village. A soft breeze stirs the trees above, their bare branches rustling lightly as they move in rhythm with the wind. You follow the winding path as it leads toward the village's outskirts, the sounds of the sleeping town fading behind you, and ahead, the shape of a small stone bridge comes into view, its arch rising gracefully over a narrow stream. The moonlight catches the water's surface, creating shimmering flashes of silver that danced like stars in the stream's slow current. And as you approach the bridge, you hear the faint creak of the wooden planks beneath the pressure of your steps, a soft, familiar sound that echoes across the quiet night. The bridge is old, its stone walls weathered by years of exposure, the edges rounded and smooth where the passage of time has worn them down. A row of wooden planks stretches across the span, each one bearing the marks of countless crossings, their surfaces worn and splintered in places, but they remain sturdy and reliable, a testament to the resilience of the village's infrastructure. You pause at the midpoint of the bridge, looking out over the stream below. The water moves steadily, its current flowing smoothly beneath the moon's watchful gaze, carrying with it fallen leaves and twigs, remnants of the forest that stretches beyond the village's borders. The gentle sound of the water fills the air, mixing with the faint rustle of the trees and the distant chirping of crickets, creating a soothing melody that seems to lull the entire world into a peaceful sleep. For a moment, you stand there, allowing the tranquility of the scene to wash over you, feeling the soft coolness of the night air on your skin and the steady rhythm of the water beneath. The village feels distant now, as if the bridge itself, set, has created a barrier between you and the world you've left behind, transporting you into a quiet realm of solitude and reflection. Bridge, timeless in its simplicity, seems to connect not just two points in space, but to worlds, one of bustling life and the other of peaceful contemplation. You take a deep breath, filling your lungs with the crisp, cool air, and allow your mind to settle into the stillness that surrounds you. The moon casts long shadows across the water, turning the surface into a shimmering mirror, reflecting the bare trees that line the stream's banks. The bridge seems to stretch endlessly in both directions, its silent arches supporting the weight of time and memory. As you stand there, lost in the rhythm of the water and the quiet of the night, you feel a deep sense of connection to this place, as if it has been waiting for you all along, offering this moment of solitude and reflection. You move slowly to the other side of the bridge, the sound of the creek fading as you leave it behind, and the village comes back into view, its stone houses rising against the backdrop of the night sky, their roofs dusted with frost that catches the moonlight like tiny diamonds scattered across the landscape. Bridge, now behind you, seems like a distant memory, a small part of the larger whole, but it has left its mark on you, its simple elegance and serene presence reminding you of the importance of quiet moments like these. The path before you stretches onward, the faint glow of distant lanterns guiding the way. But for a moment you stand still, taking in the peacefulness of the scene before you. The village feels like a living organism, each building, each stone, each tree contributing to its quiet heartbeat. The gentle sounds of the night blend together, creating a symphony of stillness that seems to fill the air, wrapping the town in a cocoon of peace and calm. You continue walking, your footsteps soft on the cobblestones, the weight of the world lifting from your shoulders as you move deeper into the heart of the village. The road ahead seems both familiar and unknown, like a path you've walked before in another life, and yet, as you approach the next curve, you realize that every step brings you closer to a new chapter of this quiet journey, each moment unfolding, with the slow grace of a story written in silence. The moon above continues its steady climb across the sky, casting its light on the town and all that surrounds it, and as you walk, the village feels alive with a quiet energy, as though it too gives aware of the passage of time, and yet it remains steadfast, unhurried, and eternal. The sounds of the stream fade away as you leave the bridge behind, and the world around you settles into a deeper quiet. Each step a reminder that time moves at its own pace here, and in the stillness there is peace. The path ahead opens into a larger square, where stone walls rise on either side, and a fountain stands at the center, its basin long dry and filled with the dusting of frost. The town square is deserted, save for a few scattered benches and the faint echo of your footsteps. But there is a certain charm in the emptiness, as if the town is holding its breath, waiting for something or perhaps someone to return. You pause at the fountain, the coolness of the stone beneath your hand grounding you in the present. And as you look around, you notice the faint outlines of homes and shops, their windows dark, but filled with the memories of lives lived here. The quiet beauty of the town, from the simple stone buildings to the frost-covered trees, wraps around you like a comforting blanket, and you feel the weight of history in the air. Like the town itself is a living memory, stretching back through the centuries and holding the stories of those who have walked its streets before you. The moon, now high above, casts its light across the square, turning the frost on the fountain's surface into a scattering of stars. And for a moment, everything seems to stand still, as if the village is caught in the timeless embrace of the night. The only sound now is the steady rhythm of your own breath, the quiet pulse of the village's heart, and the slow, steady movement of time that continues its eternal march forward. The night continues to unfold around you like a secret, its soft stillness wrapping the village in a tender embrace. And as you walk deeper into the narrow streets, the cobblestones beneath your feet seem to shift from rough and uneven to smoother, more familiar stretches, worn by the passage of time. The air is crisp, carrying the faintest scent of pine and wood smoke from distant hearths. And the moon, now high in the sky, casts its cool light over the town, turning the stone buildings into silent sentinels against the velvet darkness. Each step you take echoes in the stillness, the sound of your footfalls absorbed by the ancient stones beneath. As you pass beneath an archway, the path narrows again, the buildings on either side leaning toward one another, their walls marked K, with the signs of age cracks running along the surface, the dark stains of time, the moss creeping up the stonework as if nature itself were trying to reclaim what the hands of men have built. The wooden beams above you, darkened by years of exposure to the elements, stretch across the narrow alley, their surfaces etched with patterns that only the most attentive observer would notice. A delicate vine, a leaf, a flower whispers, K, of a time when these walls were new, when the village was young and the world was full of promise. The alleyway before you winds its way through the heart of the town, its walls tight and enclosing, offering little more than the promise of darkness and quiet. You feel as though you've stepped into a forgotten corner of the village, a place that time itself has left behind, left untouched by the bustle of daily life. The sounds of the town, distant voices, the occasional laughter, the hum of a busy life fade into the background as you walk deeper, and the silence here is almost palpable, broken only by the soft rustle of leaves caught in the breeze and the faint creak of old wood. As you continue, you notice the small details, the tiny windows with their cracked glass, the rusted iron fixtures on the doors, the scattered debris on the ground, evidence of lives lived in this corner, forgotten, yet enduring. A small cat darts out from the shadows, its eyes glowing briefly in the dim light before it vanishes again into the folds of the alley. You pause, your gaze following its fleeting movement, and for a moment you feel a sense of isolation, as if this place is not just forgotten by the world but also by time itself. The air here is still, and the night seems to press in on you from all sides, the moon's light only just reaching the ground in spots, casting long, soft shadows that stretch like dark fingers across the uneven cobbles. You walk on each step set, taking you further from the main streets and into a deeper solitude. The path before you seems to grow narrower still, the alleyway winding tighter, and as you round a corner, you find yourself at a dead end. Before you stands a small wooden door, its frame weathered and dark with age, the wood cracked and splintered in places, but still standing strong, holding steady against the years. You reach for the door, your fingers brushing the rough surface of the wood, and as you push it open, the hinges groan softly, a sound so familiar, yet so distant, that it sends a shiver down your spine. The door creaks open to reveal a small courtyard, a space enclosed by walls on all sides, its center filled with overgrown weeds and forgotten remnants of a time long past. The courtyard is bathed in the soft glow of moonlight, The stones beneath, your feet slick with moss, the air thick with the scent of damp earth and decay. The walls surrounding the courtyard are covered in ivy, the leaves now dark and shriveled. Remnants of a once vibrant green now faded to shades of brown and gray. You step inside, your shoes crunching softly against the gravel beneath. Courtyard feels abandoned, yet there is something alive here. Something that stirs in the shadows, a presence that seems to watch you from the corners of the space. In the center of the courtyard stands a stone well, its edges worn and chipped. The rope that once pulled water from its depths now frayed and tangled. The well is dry, the stone basin cracked and empty, but still it holds a certain dignity, as if it has stood here for centuries, witnessing the passage of time in silence. You approach the well, your hand brushing the smooth stone, and as you look down into the depths, you catch a glimpse of something shimmering in the bottom, something small and metallic, just barely visible beneath a layer of dirt and grime. You lean closer, your curiosity piqued, and as you reach down to touch the object, a gust of wind stirs the air, sending a shiver through the trees and making the leaves rustle like whispers. The atmosphere here is heavy, laden with the weight of history, and you feel as though you've stumbled upon a secret, a forgotten corner of the town that no one else remembers. The air feels thick with the passage of time, the stillness pressing in on you, and for a moment it feels as though you're standing on the edge of something ancient, something that has been waiting patiently to be discovered, yet never truly meant to be found. The courtyard seems to hold its breath, as though the village itself is watching you, waiting for you to take the next step. You step back from the well, your mind filled with questions, and as you turn to leave the courtyard, you notice a small bench tucked in the far corner, its wood weathered and worn by the years. You walk toward it, your footsteps soft against the moss-covered stones, and as you sit, you feel the weight of the town around you. Its history, its secrets, all pressing in from every direction. The bench is cold beneath you, the wood rough against your skin, but there is something strangely comforting about it, as though it has been here for longer than you can imagine, holding the memories of those who have sat here before you. You close your eyes for a moment, letting the stillness of the courtyard wash over you, and for a fleeting second, it feels as though the world outside the alley has ceased to exist. The only sound now is the gentle rustling of the leaves in the breeze, the faint creak of the old wooden beams above, and the soft beating of your heart, steady and sure in the quiet. The moment stretches on, timeless and serene, and as you open your eyes, you realize that this forgotten alley, this hidden courtyard, has become a part of you. It will stay with you, lingering in your memory like a dream, a quiet, secret place that only you will ever truly know. You stand up, brushing the dirt from your clothes, and as you leave the courtyard, you close the door behind you, the soft click of the latch echoing in the silence. The alleyway is just as quiet as before, the only sound the distant hum of the village, a soft murmur in the background. You take one last look at the narrow path before you, and then, with a deep breath, you continue on your way. The forgotten alley now tucked safely away in the depths of your memory, a quiet part of this village that no one else will ever see. The village, still and unyielding beneath the weight of the night, continues to hum with an invisible life that is barely perceptible to the untrained eye. The air, crisp and chilled with the presence of frost, wraps around you like a quiet cloak, each breath of the night air sharp and clean against your skin. As you wander deeper into the winding streets, the path narrows and curls like a forgotten thread that leads you further into the heart of this sleepy town. Each corner you turn, revealing more of its unspoken story. The cobblestones beneath your feet are worn smooth by the passage of generations, each stone telling a tale of those who have walked here before. Their footsteps absorbed by the quiet night, now only a faint whisper in the fabric of time. The buildings around you lean inward, their timber frames darkened by years of exposure to the elements. Their surfaces marked with the soft stains of rain and age. The windows, many of which are covered with thin curtains, flicker faintly with the light of lamps or candles burning within, their soft glow spilling out into the streets, illuminating the path before you. The scent of earth, damp and rich, mixes with the faintest hint of wood smoke, carried on the cold breeze that rustles the trees overhead. The atmosphere here feels different, heavier somehow, as though the town itself is holding its breath, waiting for something or someone. The silence is thick, punctuated only by the occasional creak of wood or the rustling of leaves. You pause for a moment, feeling the weight of the stillness around you, as if it is pressing in on all sides, urging you to remain quiet, to move gently through the night. As you stand there, a soft sound reaches your ears, barely perceptible, but unmistakable, the distant toll of a bell, slow and deliberate, its tone echoing through the streets. It is not a sound of urgency, but of calm, a steady rhythm that seems to mark the passing of time rather than signal a need. The bell tolls. Again, each note hanging in the air, reverberating softly, blending into the quiet hum of the town. You continue on, following the path as it curves gently to the left, your steps now more deliberate, as though the bell has somehow guided your movement. The street ahead is narrower, flanked by walls that seem to close in with each step you take. The buildings are closer together here, their windows small and their doors narrow, their stone foundations thick and worn from centuries of exposure. The air grows colder, the night deeper, as if you have stepped into another part of the town altogether, one that exists outside the rhythms of the day. The narrow path winds upward slightly, its cobblestones uneven, some raised and others sunken, making each step more measured than the last. The walls of the houses are now covered in moss and creeping vines, their surfaces softened by the slow passage of time. Above, the eaves of the buildings sag slightly, their wooden beams darkened with age and weather. As you pass beneath one of these sagging beams, a flicker of movement catches your eye, just a shadow, but enough to make you pause. You look up, but there is nothing there, just a dark, quiet stretch of the roof above. The alley is silent again, and you wonder if the flicker was just your imagination, or if something, or someone, is watching you from the shadows. You continue on, the faint sound of your footsteps now the only noise breaking the silence of the town. The path ahead curves again, this time leading you into a small courtyard, its stone walls high and imposing, enclosing the space in a quiet, intimate setting. The courtyard is bathed in the soft light of the moon, its pale glow casting long shadows across the uneven stones of the ground. A small stone bench rests against one of the walls, its surface worn smooth by years of use. And in the center of the courtyard stands an ancient well, its stone basin dark and dry. The well is overgrown with moss and ivy, the vines creeping up its sides and spilling over the edge, their leaves shimmering softly in the moonlight. There is something strangely peaceful about this place, as though the world has paused here, caught in the stillness of the night. You walk toward the well, your steps slow and deliberate, and as you approach, you can hear the faint rustle of leaves caught in the breeze. The air here is different, heavier with the scent of damp earth and the lingering presence of something old, something forgotten. You reach out and touch the stone of the well, feeling its cold surface beneath your fingers, the texture of the moss and ivy pressing softly into your skin. The well feels ancient, its stone worn by centuries of use, yet still standing strong, a silent witness to the passage of time. As you stand there, A soft sound reaches your ears, a low creak, followed by a faint shuffle. You turn quickly, your eyes scanning the courtyard, but there is nothing there. The courtyard is still, the shadows stretching across the ground like dark fingers, and the faint rustle of the leaves is the only sound that remains. For a moment, you wonder if it was just your imagination again, but then you hear it again, this time clearer. Closer, the soft shuffle of footsteps, slow and deliberate. You turn, but still there is nothing. The courtyard remains empty, bathed in the quiet light of the moon. Your heart beats faster now, the sound of the steps echoing is in your ears, and for a brief moment you wonder if you are truly alone in this silent space. The wind stirs the leaves once more, sending a faint rustle through the trees that surround the courtyard, and for a moment the world feels impossibly still, as if the entire village is holding its breath. You take a deep breath and force yourself to relax, reminding yourself that this is just a quiet, forgotten corner of the town, nothing more. And yet you can't shake the feeling that something is watching you, waiting, its presence hidden in the shadows. You glance around the courtyard once more, your eyes scanning the high stone walls, the vines that cling to the sides of the well, the bench that sits patiently in the corner. But there is nothing. The courtyard is empty, silent once more. The only movement, the rustling of the leaves. The footsteps are gone, the sound fading away into the night. Take another deep breath, feeling the weight of the silence settle over you again, and you turn to leave. As you step away from the well, you glance back one last time. But there is nothing, only the quiet, the shadows, and the stillness that envelops the courtyard. You walk slowly back toward the narrow path, the sound of your footsteps the only noise breaking the silence once more. As you leave the courtyard behind, you feel a strange sense of relief, but also something else, a lingering unease, as though the town itself is watching you, waiting for something you cannot quite name. The night continues to press in around you, but now it feels different, as though the shadows are deeper, the silence heavier. You cannot help but wonder what secrets the town is hiding, what forgotten stories it holds in its ancient walls, waiting to be discovered. But for now, the path before you remains empty, the village ahead still and peaceful, as if nothing has changed. Yet deep within, you know that this silence, this stillness, is merely a veil, hiding something just beneath the surface, something that watches, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. The quiet of the village thickens as you continue your journey, each step echoing softly in the stillness that blankets the streets. The air is cooler now, the sharp bite of frost cutting through the silence, yet there is a certain peace in the cold, a quiet that feels almost sacred. The cobblestones beneath your feet shift subtly, some worn smooth by centuries of use, while others rise slightly, their edges softened by time and weather, like forgotten memories in the fabric of the town's long history. The buildings around you seem to lean closer. They are dark, weathered facades softened by the deep shadows of night, the faint glow of moonlight spilling across the uneven ground. The wooden beams that hold the structure of each house are old, worn with age, yet still standing strong, as if they too are caught in the eternal embrace of time that holds this village in place. The path ahead winds gently, curving between narrow alleyways that lead to hidden corners, each one shrouded in darkness, as if the town itself has secrets it is reluctant to share. The occasional flicker of a candle in a window is the only sign of life behind the closed doors, the faint yellow light spilling out for a moment before being swallowed by the night. You can feel the weight of the hours pressing down, the minutes ticking by as if they are measured by the pulse of the town, itself. As you walk, You notice the faint rustle of leaves stirred by a whispering breeze, the soft movement of branches above, and the gentle creak of old wood as if the village is breathing, its heart beating in time with yours. The moon, high above, casts its pale light over the cobblestones, the beams filtering through gaps in the wooden beams and windows, creating a play of light and shadow on the walls of the houses. The town feels frozen in time, as if nothing has changed here for centuries. Yet, there is a sense of movement beneath the stillness, a quiet pulse that beats softly, a life that lingers just beneath the surface. The alleys seem to stretch on forever, each turn leading to another forgotten corner, another quiet space where the world seems to fall away, leaving you with nothing but the sound of your own footsteps and the ever-present hush that surrounds you. It is as though the village itself is a living entity, its very existence held in the grip of the night, waiting patiently for the dawn to break and for the world to awaken once more. You pass beneath a low archway, its stone lintel worn smooth by the touch of countless hands, the edges softened by time. On either side, the narrow street opens up into a small square, the cobblestones here even older, their surfaces rough and schematic, uneven, bearing the marks of years of wear. In the center of the square stands a weathered stone fountain, its basin long, dry, and empty, save for the thin layer of frost that coats the surface like a delicate veil. The fountain's spout, once a place where water flowed freely, now lies dormant, its once graceful curves chipped and cracked by the ravages of time. The square is quiet, the only movement the faint shift of shadows as the wind stirs the trees. Nearby, their branches creaking in protest. You stand in the center of the square for a moment, taking in the stillness, the heavy silence that seems to settle over everything. It is as though time has stopped here, as if this place is suspended, ting between moments, frozen in the memory of an era long past. You feel the weight of the years pressing down, the centuries of history that have unfolded in this very spot, each one leaving its mark in the cracks of the stone, the wear of the cobblestones, the fading remnants of lives once lived. And yet, despite the passage of time, there is a strange beauty in the quiet decay, in the way the town seems to hold its secrets in the walls, in the alleys, in the shadows. The air here is thick with memories, with the stories of those who have walked these streets before you, their footsteps still faintly audible in the silence. You take a deep breath, the crisp air filling your lungs, and continue your walk, your footsteps echoing softly as you move forward. The town stretches on before you, the alleys twisting and turning like veins in a living body, each one leading you further into the heart of the village, where the secrets of its past seem to lie hidden, waiting to be uncovered. As you walk, you pass beneath a small archway, the stone walls on either side thick with ivy that has grown untamed, the leaves curling in on themselves like fingers reaching for the sky. The path narrows as you move forward, the walls closing in, until the street feels almost claustrophobic, the air thick with the weight of history. The moon's light filters down through the cracks in the buildings above, casting long, sharp, sad shadows across the cobblestones, making the street seem even narrower, even more enclosed. It is as if you have entered a different world, a place suspended between past and present, where time has slowed and the night stretches on forever. Your steps become more deliberate now, the quiet urgency of your movements in sync with the rhythm of the town itself. Sit. There is something here, something just beyond your reach, a sense of anticipation that hangs in the air, thick and tangible. The street ahead opens up once more, revealing a small courtyard nestled between two ancient buildings. The courtyard is silent, its stone walls towering overhead, their surfaces scarred by time and weather, each crack and chip telling a story of the years that have passed. In the center of the courtyard stands a tall, slender statue, its features weathered and worn by the elements, but still holding a sense of serenity, of peace. The statue, though eroded by time, still gazes out over the courtyard with a calm expression, its hands folded across its chest in a gesture of quiet repose. You pause before the statue, feeling its presence in the stillness, the weight of its gaze as though it is watching over the village, a silent guardian. You stand there for a moment, taking in the quiet, the solitude, before continuing your journey. The courtyard, though empty, feels full of the echoes of the past, full of the lives that have passed through here, full of the stories that remain untold. You feel a sudden connection to the town, to its history, to the memories that linger in the air, and as you turn to leave the courtyard, you realize that you are no longer a visitor, but a part of something much larger, something older, something that has always been here, beneath the surface of the night, waiting for you to discover it. With each step, you feel yourself drawn deeper into the heart of the village, the paths twisting and winding ahead of you, the moonlight casting its soft glow over the stones, guiding you forward into the unknown. And as you continue your journey, you can't help but wonder what else this town holds, what other secrets it keeps hidden beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to be uncovered. As you continue your journey through the labyrinth of the ancient village, the path begins to change subtly, the cobblestones underfoot growing more uneven, their surfaces worn and cracked, like the very memories of the town, scattered in pieces. Over time, the buildings around you seem to close in tighter, their walls leaning inward as if the town itself is trying to embrace you, pulling you deeper into its folds. The moon, high above, casts its soft glow over the streets, the pale light spilling through the spaces between the houses and illuminating the path ahead with an eerie, ethereal glow. The night air is sharp, cold enough to sting the skin, but there is a certain freshness to it, a crispness that fills your lungs with each breath, grounding you in the present moment. The silence around you is profound, almost overwhelming in its stillness, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves stirred by the wind, the soft creak of a distant door swinging on its hinges, or the faint murmur of voices carried on the breeze from an unseen window. As you pass beneath a row of trees that line the narrow street, their skeletal branches reaching out like twisted fingers, you catch sight of a small moss-covered stone bench nestled against the base of a weathered wall. The bench is empty, save for a scattering of fallen leaves that have gathered in its crevices, but it beckons you to stop, to rest for a moment, and take in the quiet beauty of this place. The scent of damp earth and the faintest trace of flowers long past their bloom mingle in the air, a reminder that even in the deepest of winters, life finds a way to endure. You pause for a moment, allowing the stillness to wash over you, feeling the weight of the night pressing gently against your shoulders. The world around you seems to hold its breath, as if time itself has slowed, frozen in the delicate balance between the past and the present. The village feels like a living thing, its heartbeat steady and unyielding, its pulse measured in the slow passage of moments that stretch into eternity. Moving on, the street curves ahead, leading you deeper into the heart of the village. And as you walk, you notice the subtle changes in the buildings around you. The houses here are older, their walls thick with history, the stonework rough and uneven, bearing the marks of time's steady hand. Ivy creeps up the sides of the buildings, clinging to the stone like a living veil, while the wooden beams that support the rooftops are darkened by the weight of the years, their surfaces weathered and worn smooth by centuries of rain and wind. The path narrows as it winds between the houses, the walls closing in tighter, until the space feels almost suffocating, the air thick with the weight of the past. Yet there is a strange comfort in this closeness, a sense that the village its ancient wisdom, is protecting you, wrapping you in its embrace, guiding you deeper into its heart. The silence is no longer oppressive, but soothing, like a lullaby that carries you through the streets, each step bringing you closer to the soul of the town. You pass a small courtyard, its stone walls rising high on all sides, creating a private sanctuary that feels disconnected from the rest of the village. The space is bathed in moonlight, the shadows of the buildings stretching long across the cobblestones. And in the center of the courtyard stands a well, its stone rim worn smooth by countless hands that have drawn water from its depths over the centuries. The well is dry now, its basin empty, but the sense of history here is palpable, as if the very air is infused with the memories of those who have come before, each one leaving behind a trace of their presence in the silence. You stop for a moment, taking in the peace that surrounds you, the stillness that stretches out like a quiet sea, and you realize that you are no longer just a visitor in this place. The village has become a part of you, its history, its stories, its secrets woven into your own. And as you stand there, beneath the watchful gaze of the moon, you feel a deep connection to the town and its people, to the past that has shaped this place and the future that will continue to unfold long after you are gone. Moving on, you find yourself once again following the path as it winds between the buildings, each turn taking you deeper into the village. The streets are quieter now, the soft hum of the town's breath filling the space between each step. The occasional flicker of candlelight casting faint, trembling shadows on the walls. The air has grown colder, the crispness of the night seeping into your bones. But there is a warmth here, a quiet kind of warmth that comes from being surrounded by the weight of history, by the presence of those who have walked these streets before you. You pass a small wooden door, its surface rough and weathered, the iron handle worn smooth by years of use. The door is slightly ajar, and you catch a glimpse of the interior humble room, its stone floor covered in a woven rug, a fire crackling softly in the hearth, the light flickering on the walls in a dance of shadows. Day. The warmth of the fire calls to you, but you continue on, drawn forward by the pull of the village, by the sense of mystery that hangs in the air, thick and heavy like the scent of damp earth. The street ahead opens up into a small square, its cobblestones worn smooth by the passage of countless feet, the buildings around it leaning inward like protective guardians, their windows dark and silent. In the center of the square stands a statue, its stone face worn and eroded by the years, but still holding a sense of quiet dignity. The statue is of a man, his hands outstretched in a gesture of peace, his expression serene, as if watching over the village with a quiet, unwavering strength. You pause in the square, taking in the stillness, the calm that radiates from the statue, and for a moment you feel the weight of the village's history settle around you, the stories of its past filling the air with their presence. As you continue your journey, the streets seem to stretch on endlessly, the path ahead a blur of shadows and moonlight fills. The quiet hum of the town's heartbeat fills the space between each step, and you realize that you are no longer just walking through the village, but moving with it, each step in time with the rhythm of the town's silent passage through the night. The buildings around you grow smaller now, their windows dark and still, their walls bearing the marks of time. The path ahead narrows once more, the walls closing in, and you feel the weight of the village's history pressing down, the stories of those who have come before you rising up in the silence like a gentle wave. The night feels eternal here, as though the village itself has existed in this state of quiet stillness for centuries, its past, present, and future intertwined in a delicate web of time. You continue walking, your footsteps falling softly on the cobblestones, the town's breath carrying you forward into the unknown. The village seems to hum with a quiet energy as you move deeper into its heart, each step carrying you further into the embrace of the ancient streets. The cobblestones beneath your feet, worn smooth by the passage of time, seem to guide you, with a rhythm, a beat that aligns with the very pulse of the town. The air is colder now, the crisp bite of the night settling around you like a blanket, but there is a strange comfort in it, as if the chill is a reminder that this place, with all its history and secrets, is still alive, still breathing, even in the stillness of the night. Above, the moon hangs low in the sky, casting its pale light over the town, the glow spreading across the rooftops and through the narrow gaps between the buildings, turning the streets into a labyrinth of shadow and light. The stillness of the night is almost tangible, a quiet weight that presses down on the town, holding it in a state of suspended animation, as if time itself has slowed in reverence to the place. As you walk, you notice the details, the faint scent of wood smoke lingering in the air, the rustling of dry leaves as they are stirred by the wind, the faint sound of water trickling from somewhere hidden behind the walls. There is a sense of quiet purpose here, a serenity that fills the air like a soft hum, and it wraps around you, pulling you deeper into the village's quiet embrace. You pass a series of small, intimate homes, their windows dark and shuttered, their walls thick with history and age, the stonework rough and worn, but still standing strong, a testament to the resilience of the town and its people. The path narrows as you move forward, the buildings drawing closer together, their facades covered in ivy that has long since lost its leaves, leaving behind a tangled web of branches that seem to stretch upward toward the sky, reaching for something just out of reach. The sound of your footsteps echoes in the narrow space, the quiet rhythm of your movements blending with the soft murmur of the wind and the distant calls of nocturnal creatures. The air grows colder still, the chill sinking deeper into your bones as you continue your journey. You pass beneath an archway, the stone worn smooth by the hands of those who have passed before you, their touch leaving an invisible mark on the fabric of the town. The archway leads you into a small courtyard, its stone walls towering above you, their surfaces marked with the passage of time, the stones weathered and cracked, but still holding firm. In the center of the courtyard stands a large fountain, its stone basin empty, the water long since dried up, leaving behind only a scattering of fallen leaves and a thin layer of frost that glistens in the moonlight. The fountain is silent, its once steady flow of water now nothing more than a memory. But the stillness around it is soothing, the quiet serenity of the space washing over you like a balm. You stop for a moment, taking in the scene, feeling the weight of the history that lingers in the air. The courtyard feels like a place frozen in time, a space where the past and present converge, where the echoes of those who have come before you can still be heard in the silence. The cold air cuts through you, but there is a warmth here, a sense of peace that settles in your chest as you breathe deeply, filling your lungs with the crisp, clean air. You turn and continue your journey, the sound of your footsteps muffled by the thick stone walls that surround you. The path leads you upward, toward a narrow street lined with homes that seem to grow taller as you ascend. The buildings are old, their stonework rough and weathered, their wooden beams darkened by the years, but there is a certain beauty in their age, a charm that comes from the passage of time. The streets here are quieter, the sound of life fading. As you move further from the center of the village, the lanterns that line the streets are dim, their light casting faint shadows on the cobblestones, and the wind carries the scent of damp earth and wood, mingling with the cold, dry air. You pass a series of small gardens, their once vibrant flowers now wilted and dormant beneath a blanket of frost. The gardens are empty now, abandoned to the winter chill, but they still hold a certain beauty, The delicate patterns of frost on the leaves and the soft curve of the stone walls that surround them. As you continue, the path grows steeper, the incline becoming more pronounced as you ascend toward the higher parts of the village. The buildings here are more spaced out, their windows large and inviting, but still dark and silent, as though the inhabitants are all tucked away, hidden from view behind the thick stone walls. The air grows colder still, the wind biting at your skin as you reach the top of the hill, where the view opens up before you, the entire village spread out beneath the moonlit sky. The rooftops stretch out in every direction, their shapes softened by the frost that clings to them, and the smoke from the chimneys rises in thin wisps, curling up into the night sky like forgotten memories. You stand there for a moment, taking in the view, feeling the weight of the village pressing down on you, its history, its stories, its life all folded into this single, quiet moment. The moonlight casts its glow over everything, bathing the town in a soft, ethereal light, and you realize that this place, this quiet, ancient village, is more than just a collection of buildings and streets. It is a living thing, its heart beating in time with the rhythm of the earth, its breath rising and falling with the wind, its spirit carried through the years by the people who have come and gone. You turn and begin your descent, your footsteps light and sure as you make your way down the narrow street. The town seems to stretch on forever, its streets winding and twisting, its buildings leaning in close, their ancient walls whispering stories that have been passed down through the generations. As you move deeper into the village, the sense of quiet calm grows stronger, the stillness around you settling into your bones, and you feel yourself becoming a part of this place, a thread woven into the tapestry of time. The town wraps itself around you, its pulse steady and unyielding, its heart beating in time with your own. And as you walk, you realize that you are no longer just a visitor in this place. You are a part of it now, its history and its future intertwined with your own. The night continues its slow, steady rhythm, the wind whispering through the streets, the soft murmur of the town's breath rising and falling, and you move forward, deeper into the village's embrace, knowing that, for now, you are home. You are home. The village stirs in the quiet shadows of the early morning, the cool breath of the night still clinging to the cobblestones. But now, a gentle shift begins to occur as the faint light of dawn creeps over the horizon, casting its soft glow across the worn streets. The one silent town begins to awaken, though it does so slowly, as though the village itself needs time to stretch and shake off the weight of the night. The rhythm of life here is unhurried, deliberate, and peaceful, as though every movement is in tune with the pulse of the earth beneath. The first signs of life are smaller, distant roosters crow, a dog's soft bark echoing in the distance, the slow creak of shutters being opened, the faint whisper of cloth brushing against wooden beams as someone begins their day. The town steams to breathe in these early moments, its buildings exhaling the cool air of the night as the warmth of the day is welcomed with quiet anticipation. The streets remain largely empty, save for a few figures moving through the shadows, their silhouettes blending with the soft light that bathes the cobblestones. These early risers move with a sense of purpose, but there is no rush, no hurried energy to their steps. It is as though the entire town is steeped in a rhythm of patience, where the day is never forced to begin too early, where each second stretches into the next like a slow-moving river. As you walk through the town, your footsteps echo softly in the stillness, the only sound the quiet rustle of your clothes against the cool morning air. The buildings around you are dark and quiet, their windows still shuttered, their doors closed, desk against the night. Yet there is an unmistakable sense of life beneath the silence, a pulse that can be felt in the way the air seems to hum. the way the streets stretch out before you in a welcoming embrace. It is the rhythm of a place that has existed for centuries, where time has moved slowly and steadily, untouched by the frantic pace of the outside world. The town feels timeless, as though it has always been here, nestled in the folds of the hills and the quiet of the countryside. You pass a small wooden bench tucked into a narrow alley, its weathered surface worn smooth by years of use. A pair of boots sits neatly beside it, their leather soft and well-worn, evidence of the countless walks taken through this town, of the lives that have moved through its streets, their stories woven into the very fabric of the place. Pause for a moment, looking around at the quiet, empty street before you, and you realize that this village, though small, carries with it the weight of history of people who have lived and loved here, of lives quietly unfolding in the corners of these narrow lanes. There is a reverence in the stillness, a respect for the past, for the moments that have shaped this place. It is a place where nothing is forgotten, where the quiet rhythms of daily life are carried forward, generation after generation. As you continue walking, the sky begins to brighten, the first rays of the sun casting a soft golden hue over the rooftops, bringing warmth to the cold stone and the rough-hewn timber that make up the heart of the town. The streets begin to come, alive with the soft shuffle of footsteps, the quiet murmur of voices, as the town stirs from its slumber. The markets, tucked away in quiet corners, start to open, their wooden shutters creaking as they are pulled up to reveal the stalls within, each one filled with the fruits of the land, baskets of bread, bundles of herbs, and jars of preserves. The smells of fresh produce mix with the earthy aroma of the surrounding fields, creating a scent that is both familiar and comforting, like the embrace of the earth itself. You pass the marketplace, but you do not stop. There is no need to rush here, no urgency to be anywhere but the present moment. You continue through the town, moving past the quiet homes, the gardens that are still dormant beneath their blankets of frost, the wooden fences that enclose small patches of earth where life will soon return once the warmth of the sun has done its work. The pace here is slow, deliberate, but there is a purpose to it, a rhythm that has been maintained for generations. Each footstep you take is another note in the song of the town, another beat in its steady heart. The cobblestones beneath your feet are worn smooth in places, others still rough and uneven, but each stone has its place. Each one is part of the larger pattern that forms this town. As you move through the streets, you notice the subtle signs, of the passage of times, small cracks in the walls, worn wooden beams, the faintest hint of moss growing in the corners of doorways. But these marks of age are not signs of neglect. They are the marks of a place that has been lived in, a place where every inch of space has been touched by the hands of those who have called it home. It is a place where time moves, not in fits, and starts, but in a steady, unwavering flow. And though the world around it may change, this town remains a constant, a place where the rhythm of life continues, unchanged, from one generation to the next. The first light of the morning casts a soft glow across the town, turning the streets into a tapestry of shadow and light. The rooftops catch the sun's rays, their dark slate tiles glistening in the early morning light, and the wind picks up, stirring the trees and the leaves that have fallen from them. The sound of the wind in the branches, the quiet creak of shutters being opened, the distant hum of the market beginning to stir, these are the sounds of a place that is waking up, but not in a hurry. It is the sound of a town that has no need to rush, that has all the time it needs to unfold. And as the day slowly begins to take shape, you feel yourself drawn into the town's rhythm, moving in time with its steady pulse, finding comfort in its quiet certainty, its deep, unhurried breath. The streets grow busier as more people emerge from their homes, but there is no rush here. The pace remains slow and steady, a reflection of the town's spirit. People greet one another with a nod, a wave, a few quiet words exchanged between familiar faces. There is no hurry, no sense of urgency, just the quiet unfolding of the day. You continue to walk, moving past the homes and the gardens, the markets and the quiet alleys, until you come to a small square at the center of the village. Here, a fountain stands, its stone basin long since dried up, but its presence still commands the space. The fountain is a quiet monument to the village's past, its basin once filled with water that nourished the town, that served as a gathering place for those who lived here. Now, it is a silent sentinel, its stone cracked and weathered by time, but still standing strong. The square around it is quiet, empty for now, but it is a place that will soon come to life as the day unfolds. People will gather here, sit on the stone benches that surround the square, chat with neighbors, share news, and pass the time in a leisurely way that is unique to this place. It is a moment of rest, a moment of peace, and it is here that the town comes together, a community that exists, not in a rush, but in a slow, steady rhythm that stretches out through the day. You take a seat on one of the benches, letting the quiet of the town wash over you, feeling the weight of time settle around you like a soft, warm blanket. The day is just beginning, but already you can feel the quiet pulse of the village moving through you, and you realize that, in this place, there is no need to rush. There is only the steady rhythm of life, the quiet certainty that everything will unfold in its own time. And for the first time, you find yourself surrendering to that rhythm, letting go of the urgency that often governs your days, and simply being a part of this quiet, timeless place. As the cool winds swept through the narrow cobblestone streets, the ancient town seemed to breathe with an age-old rhythm, each step of its residents or visitors blending into the whispers of the past. The deep history of this medieval village, settled upon the very bones of time, held a quiet magic that seemed to permeate the air. From the weathered stones that formed its walls to the faint scent of earth and wood smoke that lingered around every corner. The homes here, though small, were sturdy and resilient, much like the people who had lived and died within them for centuries, each generation adding their own thread to the complex tapestry of the village's existence. Time, as it had in so many other places, moved slowly here, measured not by the ticking of a clock, but by the rise and fall of the sun and moon, the change of seasons, and the quiet conversations shared over dinner tables, where the simple yet profound connection between people flourished. Passing through the village gates, deep, the path led deeper into its heart, where the streets grew narrower, and the houses huddled closer together, as if seeking warmth and protection from the long winters that had shaped their lives. Here, the rhythm of life was different, slower, more deliberate, and more connected to the earth beneath their feet. The people of the village had a deep respect for their land, and it showed in the way they tended their gardens, harvested their crops, and spoke of the changing weather with a wisdom that seemed to transcend the simple knowledge of their time. It was a place where the past was never truly gone. It lingered in the buildings, the soil, the traditions passed down from one generation to the next, in the quiet rituals that framed their daily lives, that as the wind shifted, carrying with it the smell of freshly baked bread and the faint hum of distant voices, it became clear that this was not merely a town but a living entity, its pulse steady and calm, flowing like the river that wound through its center. The quiet strength of the place lay not in its monuments or grand buildings, but in the subtle, enduring way the villagers had learned to live with one another and with the land. The ancient cobblestones, worn smooth by centuries of feet, felt like a silent testament to this enduring harmony. The air seemed to hum with a gentle nostalgia as each stone in the road, each worn wooden beam in the walls, held the stories of countless generations. Time here was a river that flowed steadily and without haste, and the town seemed suspended in it, like a vessel that moved only at the pace of memory. The houses, with their moss-covered roofs and ivy-clad walls, leaned against one another in quiet companionship, as if sharing the weight of centuries together. In the evening light, they looked like old friends, their worn surfaces speaking of all the lives that had passed through them. The small gardens that surrounded many of the homes, though winter-touched and silent for now, whispered of the life that would return with the coming seasons, of seeds waiting beneath the cold earth. Sprout once more. The village, though small, carried the weight of history that was almost palpable, and as you walked through its streets, you could feel the presence of those who had come before. Their footsteps now a part of the very fabric of the town itself, the narrow alleyways, which twisted and turned like veins through the heart of the town, seemed to pull you deeper into its quiet embrace. Here, the faintest sounds seemed magnified in the stillness, the rustling of leaves, the creak of a door opening, the distant chatter of a family gathered around a table, or the soft whisper of a breeze passing through the branches of a nearby tree. Every sound felt like a part of the town's conversation with itself, a conversation that had been taking place for as long as the stones had stood. There was a peace here, a sense of continuity that seemed to transcend time, as if the town itself was at rest in the cradle of its history. And in this peace, the present moment felt suspended, as though everything that had ever happened here was still echoing softly in the air, waiting to be remembered. You passed a small, secluded courtyard where an old stone fountain sat, long since dry, its basin now filled with a mix of fallen leaves and the faintest dusting of frost. The benches that circled it were weathered and worn, but they still held the promise of rest for anyone who might pass by and feel the weight of the town's quiet, timeless presence. The walls of the courtyard were high and thick, as if enclosing this space to protect it from the outside world, and within its confines, the air felt heavier, richer, filled with the weight of memories that had been made here in this little corner of the town. As you stood there, taking in the stillness, it was hard to shake the feeling that you were not merely visiting a place, but were instead stepping into a memory, one that had been carefully preserved, its quiet rhythms unbroken by the passage of time. It was in these small, intimate moments that the true soul of the town revealed itself. The grand, sweeping vistas of history were important, but it was in the simple, daily moments, the shared cups of tea, the quiet exchanges between neighbors, the slow, careful tending of the land, that the town's heart beat strongest. Here, time was not something to be conquered or controlled, but something to be respected and embraced. It was a place where the past was not just a collection of events, but a living, breathing presence that informed every action, every word, every breath. The villagers, though they lived in the present, carried the past with them like a cherished possession, as if it was a part of their very being. As you continue your walk through the winding lanes of the village, the sense of tranquility deepens, becoming almost tangible, like a blanket of warmth that envelopes the entire town. The cobblestones beneath your feet are familiar, each stone worn by the passage of generations, their surfaces smooth in some places and rough in others, telling stories of countless footsteps that have walked these paths long before you. The air is thick with the scent of earth, wood smoke, and the subtle fragrance of the herbs and flowers that grow in the gardens hidden behind the walls of each house. Every corner you turn reveals another layer of the village's character, its essence slowly revealing itself to you with each passing step. The houses, though simple, are a reflection of the people who live within them, humble yet resilient, worn yet strong. The wooden beams that stretch across the rooftops are darkened with age, but they still hold firm, just as the town itself endures through the seasons and the years. The narrow alleyways seem to lead you deeper into the heart of this quiet, timeless place, each turn revealing new details, small reminders of the passage of time that have become embedded in the very fabric of the town. You pass by a house where the shutters are slightly ajar, and through the small gap you catch a glimpse of a flickering candlelight, casting long soft shadows on the walls within. The light dances unaffected by the breeze, as if it too is caught in the stillness of the night, existing in harmony with the world outside. Further along the lane, a small garden catches your eye. It is tucked away behind a rottion gate, the kind that is often found in places where time has slowed, where nature has been allowed to grow freely and without constraint. The gate is slightly rusted, the iron twisted and contorted by years of exposure to the elements, but it still stands, guarding the garden as it has for many years. The flowers within are long past their bloom, but their faded petals, caught in the dying light of the day, seem to retain some of their former beauty. The trees that surround the garden are tall and gnarled, their branches reaching toward the sky like hands trying to touch the stars. You stop for a moment to take in the stillness of this scene, the peace that hangs in the air like the faintest sigh, and for a brief moment you feel as if time has come to a halt, as if the entire village is holding its breath, suspended in the quiet rhythm of life that has existed here for centuries. This is a place where the past is not something that is merely remembered, but something that is lived, a place where the rhythms of life have remained unchanged, untouched by the rush of the outside world. It is as if the village exists in its own time, its own world, a world where the noise and chaos of modern life cannot intrude. The slow, deliberate pace of life here is reflected in the way the villagers move, in the way they speak, and in the way they tend to their homes and gardens. The days pass without hurry, each one blending into the next, yet each one holding its own quiet beauty, its own unique rhythm. You continue your walk, taking in the subtle sounds of the village, the distant hum of voices coming from the small gathering places, the soft rustle of leaves as the wind passes through the trees, the faint creak of wooden doors opening and closing as people go about their daily tasks. The town is alive with these small, seemingly insignificant sounds, but together they create a symphony of life, a symphony that has been playing for as long as anyone can remember. It is the sound of a town that has found its own pace, its own way of existing in harmony with the world around it, a town that moves not with the frantic pace of the modern world, but with the slow, steady rhythm of tradition and memory. The deeper you go into the village, the more you feel a part of this rhythm, as if the very air around you is pulling you into its embrace, wrapping you in the comforting quiet of this place. It is a rhythm that speaks of continuity, of endurance, and of a way of life that has remained unchanged despite the passage of time. As you reach the center of the village, you are struck by the contrast between the bustling heart of the town and the peaceful, secluded corners that you have passed through. Here, in the main square, the life of the village is laid bare before you, the hub where everything converges, where the old and the new meet in a quiet dance of coexistence. The square is not large, but it holds a sense of purpose, a sense of life that is both vibrant and contained. The buildings around it are a mix of old stone and newer timber, their facades weathered and worn, but still standing strong, as if they have weathered the test of time and are now ready to stand for many. Moyers, people are gathered in small groups, talking quietly, exchanging goods, and sharing stories. There is no rush here, no urgency in their movements. Everything is done with care, with attention to detail, as if each action, no matter how small, is a part of a larger, more meaningful rhythm. The market stalls are simple, yet they are filled with fresh produce, handmade crafts, and other goods that speak to the care and skill of those who have created them. The scent of fresh bread and herbs fills the air, mixing with the earthy aroma of wood and stone, creating a sense of comfort and warmth that is felt deep in your bones. As you watch the villagers go about their day, you feel the weight of the history of this place, the history that is embedded in every stone, every beam, every corner of the village. It is a history that is not spoken of often, but that is felt in the very bones of the town, in the rhythm of life that has continued here for centuries. It is a rhythm that has remained steady, unbroken, and that will continue long after you have left, long after the memory of your visit has faded. The quiet strength of the village lies in this rhythm, in its ability to endure, to adapt, and to remain true to itself, no matter the changes that may come. And as you stand there, in the heart of the town, you can't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude for the rhythm that has shaped this place, for the quiet, steady beat of life that continues, unwavering, in the face of all that is to come. As you leave the bustling center of the village behind, you find yourself wandering down quieter, narrower lanes that wind like veins through the heart of this ancient town. The air feels different here, thick with the scent of old stone and wood, as if each building carries the memory of generations that have passed, silently enduring the march of time. The cobblestones beneath your feet are older here, their edges worn smooth by countless footsteps, yet they retain their solid, unyielding strength, much like the town itself. The buildings on either side stand close together, their walls weathered and scarred by years of rain, wind, and the steady passing of seasons. There is a certain timelessness to this part of the village, a sense that the walls themselves hold stories that are too ancient to be remembered, but too important to be forgotten. The houses are not grand or imposing, but rather humble and intimate, each one with its own unique character, its own subtle quirks that speak to the lives lived within. You pause before one such house, its stone walls adorned with creeping ivy that has clung tightly to the surface for years, its branches twisting and curling like tendrils of memory, reaching toward the sky in silent supplication. The roof is made of worn slate tiles, each one distinct from the other, yet together they form a patchwork of resilience, a mosaic that tells the story of the house's enduring presence in the village. The window shutters are closed, but there is a soft glow of light escaping through the cracks, the warm amber hue spilling out into the street like a comforting embrace, offering a brief glimpse into the life within. As you continue along the lane, you are drawn to the next building, its door slightly ajar, as if inviting you in. The threshold is low, the wooden door worn with age, its surface marked with the lines of time and use. It is a door that has seen many comings and goings, each one leaving behind a faint echo, a whispered memory that lingers in the air. You step closer, your footsteps muffled by the soft, steady rhythm of the village around you, and as you reach out to touch the doorframe, a sudden breeze stirs the air, sending a shiver down your spine. The coolness of the wind is refreshing, yet there is something unsettling about it, as if it carries with it the weight of untold secrets, secrets that have been passed down through the generations, hidden within the walls of this village, waiting to be uncovered. You hesitate for a moment, feeling the pull of curiosity and caution in equal measure, but then you step back and continue down the path, the sense of something ancient and untold still hanging in the air like a distant murmur. The next house you come upon is different from the others. Its stone walls are cracked and weathered, the mortar between the stones crumbling away, but there is a certain beauty in its decay, a quiet elegance that comes with age. The roof is steep, covered in moss and lichen, and the window shutters are open wide, allowing the soft light of the late afternoon sun to spill in, casting long shadows across the cobblestones below. A small garden is tucked behind the house, its plants growing in wild abundance, each one claiming its own space, yet together they form a harmonious whole, a testament to nature's ability to thrive even in the most humble of places. You can hear the faint murmur of water nearby, and as you follow the sound, you come upon a small stream that winds its way through the village, its surface glistening in the fading light. The water flows slowly, gently, as if it too is in no hurry to reach its destination. It is a stream that has been here for centuries, its presence as constant as the village itself, its waters a quiet companion to the lives that have unfolded along its banks. You stand for a moment, listening to the soft gurgling of the water, the peaceful rhythm of its flow lulling you into a state of calm. It is as if the stream is telling you a story, one that has been whispered to the stones, trees, and the earth, a story that stretches back through time, beyond the memory of the oldest villagers. The stream winds its way through the village like a lifeline, connecting the past with the present, linking the people who have lived here with those who will come after. As you continue down the lane, you notice that the houses here are not as close together as they were in the heart of the village. The space between them feels wider, the streets quieter, and the air more still, as if this part of the town exists in a different time, a time that has not yet been touched by the outside world. The houses are smaller, their walls made of rough-hewn stone, their roofs covered in thatch or wooden shingles. Some of the houses are abandoned, their windows boarded up, their doors locked tight, but others are still lived in, their occupants carrying on with the slow, deliberate pace of life that has always been the rhythm of the village. You pass a house with a small courtyard in front, the ground covered in a thick layer of fallen leaves, their rustling sound breaking the stillness of the air. The courtyard is surrounded by a low stone wall, overgrown with ivy, and at the far end stands a well, its stone rim cracked and weathered by years of use. The well is dry now, its basin empty, but you can still feel the history of it, the countless times that water has been drawn from its depths, quenching the thirst of the villagers, watering their plants, and sustaining their lives. The well is a symbol of the village's endurance, its ability to provide for its people, even in times of hardship. As you stand there, looking at the well, you realize that this village, with all its quiet charm and hidden rhythms, is more than just a collection of buildings. It is a living, breathing entity, a place where the past and present coexist, where the stories of those who have come before are whispered on the wind, carried in the rustling of the leaves, and etched into the very stones beneath your feet. The village is a place where time moves differently, a place where the rhythms of life have remained unchanged for centuries. The villagers go about their daily tasks with quiet purpose, their movements slow but steady, their lives woven together in a delicate tapestry of tradition and memory. There is no rush here, no urgency, only the steady beat of life that continues, unbroken, like the flow of the stream that winds its way through the village. You feel a deep sense of peace as you walk through the village, as if you have become a part of this quiet, timeless rhythm. The walls of the houses, the cobblestones beneath your feet, and the trees that stretch toward the sky all seem to be watching over you, keeping you safe in the embrace of the village's ancient heart. You continue your journey, knowing that you are not just passing through this village, but that you are becoming a part of its story, a story that will be whispered through the walls and carried on the wind long after you have gone. The village grows quieter the further you walk, the air heavier with history, as if each step you take stirs something ancient buried deep beneath the earth. The cobblestones underfoot become rougher, uneven, worn by centuries of footsteps, There are edges jagged like forgotten memories. The houses here are scattered more sparsely, the spaces between them wide and open, the gardens untended, wild with brambles and ivy that twist around the stone walls like forgotten stories. The path you walk seems to fade into the landscape, as though it is not so much a road but a continuation of the earth itself, winding in and out of view, hidden at times by tall grasses or the low-hanging branches of trees that arch over the way. There is no hurry here, no sign of urgency. The only sound that reaches your ears is the occasional rustle of leaves stirred by a passing breeze, the soft murmur of a faraway stream, and the distant call of birds that nest in the trees. Pass a small house, its door cracked open just enough to reveal a dim interior, the faint flicker of candlelight casting shadows on the walls. The house seems abandoned, but there is something comforting about it, as if it still holds within its walls the essence of life that once filled it. Wonder who lived here, what stories these walls could tell, if they could speak. The thought lingers in your mind, but the path pulls you forward, beckoning you deeper into the village's forgotten heart. The trees grow denser as you continue, there, thick trunks rising like silent sentinels, their leaves creating a soft canopy that filters the light, casting everything beneath them in a cool, dappled shade. You can feel the temperature drop, the air growing cooler, carrying with it the earthy scent of damp moss and the musty smell of old wood. The forgotten path leads you through a small grove, its floor carpeted with fallen leaves, their colors muted and faded with time. A creek runs through the grove, its waters low but steady, the soft trickle of water over rocks the only sound that breaks the silence. You pause for a moment, listening to the quiet rhythm of the water, watching the way the light dances on its surface as it glides over the stones, winding its way through the village like an ancient lifeline. There is something peaceful about this place, something that calls to the part of you that craves quiet, solitude, and reflection. The village feels different here, as if the weight of time is not so heavy, as if it has breathed a little deeper and settled into itself. You wonder how many have walked this path before you, how many have paused at the creek to listen to the water, to feel the same calm settle over them like a blanket, wrapping them in the stillness of this forgotten place. Continue on, following the path as it curves around the grove, leading you toward a distant hill. The houses along the way become fewer, their walls more weathered, their windows dark and shuttered, as if the village is falling asleep, one building at a time, surrendering itself to the quiet embrace of the night. The trees thin out as you reach the hill, and at the summit you are greeted by a wide view of the village stretching out below you. The rooftops shrouded in a soft mist, the smoke from chimneys rising slowly into the sky, curling and twisting in the still air. The village seems peaceful from here, its rhythms slow, its heart beating gently beneath the weight of history. There are no hurried footsteps, no rush of voices, only the distant murmur of the stream and the rustle of leaves in the wind. You stand at the top of the hill for a while, taking it all in, letting the quiet sweep over you like a tide. The village seems to breathe with you, its ancient walls exhaling and inhaling in a slow, steady rhythm, as if it is alive, as if it has always been alive, and will continue to be long after you are gone. The thought is both comforting and humbling, and you feel a deep sense of connection to this place, to the lives that have been lived here, to the stories that have been told and forgotten, to the rhythms that have carried on through the centuries. You wonder how many have stood on this same hill, looking out over the village, wondering the same things, asking the same questions. The thought lingers in your mind as you begin your descent, retracing your steps back down the hill, the path now more familiar, the village once again close at hand. The forgotten path that led you here has now become a part of you, woven into your memory like a thread in a tapestry. its quiet rhythms echoing in your mind, its stillness settling in your heart. As you reach the bottom of the hill, you are once again surrounded by the village, its homes standing close together, their walls heavy with the weight of time, their windows dark and shuttered. But there is something different now, something that has changed within you, something that makes the village seem less like a place and more like a story that has always been here, waiting to be discovered. You pause for a moment, taking in the quiet beauty of the village, feeling the weight of its history settle around you, and as you continue along the path, you realize that this village, with its quiet streets, its forgotten corners, and its ancient walls, is not just a place, it is a memory, a living, breathing memory that carries the stories of all who have walked here before you, and will continue to carry those stories long after you are gone. The village seems to grow quieter as the night deepens, the light from the low-hanging lanterns casting only fleeting glimpses of the path ahead. The houses now stand like silent sentinels, their darkened windows reflecting the quiet sky. A sky so filled with stars it feels as though the heavens themselves are watching, observing every movement with a patient, eternal gaze. As you continue along the cobbled path, you feel the weight of time press gently against your shoulders, the earth beneath your feet murmuring with the secrets of centuries. The air grows colder, the stillness thick and palpable, almost tangible, as though the village itself is holding its breath, waiting for something, anything, to disturb the calm. The breeze picks up, rustling the branches of the trees that line the path, their skeletal limbs reaching upward, twisting and turning in delicate patterns, as if to remind you that even in the stillness of night, life continues in unseen ways. The path before you is narrow, winding its way through patches of grass that are now stiff with frost, their blades crunching underfoot with every step. Each footfall echoes softly in the silence, blending with the distant sound of a dog barking. Somewhere deep within the village, its voice carried on the wind, faint but distinct. You pass by an old stone wall, its surface covered in moss and ivy, the growth of years clinging to the weathered stone like memories that refuse to fade. The wall curves around a corner, leading you deeper into a section of the village that feels older, more forgotten, as though this place has remained unchanged for centuries. The houses here are smaller, their roofs sagging under the weight of time, their walls thick and uneven, covered in patches of faded plaster and worn wood. A small, narrow alleyway opens to your right, its entrance barely wide enough to pass through, but you step inside, drawn by the pull of curiosity. The alley is dark, the only light coming from the faint glow of a candle flickering in the distance, its flame dancing like a beacon. The air is heavier here, the scent of damp earth and decaying wood filling your lungs as you walk slowly, the stones beneath your feet worn smooth by the passage of countless years. The alley seems to stretch on forever, winding in unexpected directions, the walls narrowing around you, their surfaces covered in grime and the remnants of forgotten lives. You wonder who once walked this path, what stories were whispered in these shadows, what hands once touched these very walls, but no answers come. Instead, the silence settles around you, wrapping you in its embrace like a heavy blanket. A small courtyard appears ahead, its center dominated by a crumbling stone fountain, now dry and filled with the fallen leaves of countless seasons. The benches around the fountain are empty, the wood dark and weathered, their surfaces smooth from years said of use, their curves shaped by the hands of those who once rested here. The quiet is almost suffocating, but still, you stand for a moment, absorbing the peaceful stillness of the place. In the distance, you hear the faint sound of a door creaking open, followed by the muffled voices of people speaking in hushed tones, their words lost to the wind. You wonder who they are, What brought them out at this hour? But you don't approach. The shadows of the courtyard seem to deepen, urging you forward, as if to say that there is nothing here for you. The air grows even colder, the chill seeping into your bones as you step away from the fountain. Your footsteps echoing faintly in the silence. A betia. The alleyway calls you back, and you follow the winding path, leaving the quiet courtyard behind. As you step into the darkness once again, you feel the weight of the village settle even deeper around you, as if it is not just the stones, the walls, or the air, but the very ground beneath your feet that holds the memories of generations. The night feels thick with them, those who have come before, those who have walked these same streets, whose stories have faded into the quiet hum of the village. The path ahead is no longer clear. It stretches out before you like an endless thread, unwinding through the village, disappearing into the shadows, vanishing into the night. You are not sure where it leads, only that it seems to lead onward, into the heart of the village where the whispers of the past still linger, waiting to be discovered. The streetlights are fewer now, the darkness deeper, the shadows more pronounced. The village is fading into the night, its presence lingering only in the stillness, in the quiet hum of its own forgotten heart. But you walk on, drawn by an unseen force, a silent watcher that has always been there, patiently observing as you move through the streets, as you follow the winding path that has led you this far. You wonder if it is a part of you, this watcher, this presence that has followed you since you first set foot in the village, or if it is simply the village itself, its soul taking form in the shadows, in the silence that lingers between each step. The thought drifts away like smoke, leaving only the steady rhythm of your breath, the soft rustle of leaves, and the distant call of a bird somewhere in the dark, its voice fading as the night deepens. The path ahead seems endless, but still you follow. The village now nothing more than a quiet dream behind you, its memory fading into the shadows, leaving only the echo of its presence, the silent watcher keeping time as you move ever onward. And so you walk, the silent presence of the village wrapped around you, as you continue down the forgotten path that will lead you into the heart of the night. The village, shrouded in the quiet of the night, feels as though it has not changed in centuries, its heart beating at a steady, almost imperceptible rhythm, pulsing through every stone, every tree, and every window that lies dormant behind closed shutters. The air is thick with the weight of time. Each breath you take feels like an inhalation of history itself, drawing you deeper into the fabric of this ancient place. The path before you, though worn and uneven in places, seems to stretch endlessly in both directions, as though it could carry you back through the centuries or lead you forward into an unknown future. There is a sense of timelessness here, a feeling that the village exists outside the normal flow of time, as though it has been suspended in the moment between dusk and dawn, between the whispers of the past and the echoes of what is yet to come. The houses, standing close together as if in a quiet embrace, are bathed in the soft glow of moonlight, their stone walls weathered by years of exposure, their wooden beams darkened with age and the wear of countless seasons. As you walk, you can almost hear the faint murmur of stories that have been whispered in these streets, of lives that have unfolded behind these walls, of moments both large and small that have passed unnoticed by the rest of the world but have left their mark here, woven into the very fabric of this village. The cobblestones beneath your feet are uneven, some cracked and sunken from years of use, others smooth and rounded, their edges softened by the weight of countless footsteps. Each stone tells its own story, a testament to the generations that have walked this path before you, each one carrying with it a piece of the past, a whisper of the lives that have come and gone. The silence that surrounds you is thick, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves, stirred by the breeze or the distant creak of a door opening somewhere in the village. It is a silence that is both peaceful and unsettling, as though the village is holding its breath, waiting for something to break the stillness, for something to move within the quiet. The scent of damp earth and wood smoke lingers in the air, a comforting presence that seems to ground you in the present moment, a reminder that though time may pass, the essence of this place remains unchanged, steadfast in its quiet existence. Care as you continue down the path. You pass a small garden, its hedges trimmed neatly and its flowers long since faded by the cold, their petals crumbling into the earth beneath. The garden, though no longer alive with the vibrancy of spring, holds a quiet beauty, a reminder that even in the darkest seasons, there is still life beneath the surface, waiting to bloom once again when the time is right. The garden gate, made of weathered wood and iron, stands ajar, as though inviting you to step inside and explore, to discover the hidden stories that lie within this forgotten corner of the village. But you do not enter. Instead, you pause for a moment, taking in the scene before you, allowing the silence to settle around you like a blanket, enveloping you in its warmth and stillness. It is then that you notice the sound of footsteps behind you, faint but distinct, growing louder as they approach. You turn, expecting to see someone, but there is no one there. The path is empty, the village still and quiet, as though the footsteps were never there at all. You stand still for a moment, listening, but the sound does not come again. The village continues to breathe around you, the quiet hum of its heartbeat undisturbed by the brief interruption. With a slow, steady breath, you turn back to the path ahead, continuing your journey through the village, your steps falling into rhythm with the ancient pulse of this place. As you walk, the shadows grow longer, stretching out ahead of you like the hands of the past reaching toward the future, reminding you that time is both a companion and a specter, always present, always moving, yet never quite graspable. The wind picks up again, swirling through the trees, carrying with it the faintest hint of something old, something forgotten, as though the village itself is speaking to you, whispering the secrets of its history into the night. You wonder if you are meant to understand these whispers, if you are meant to uncover the stories buried in the walls of this place, or if you are simply meant to listen, to bear witness to the passing of time as it flows through the village, uninterrupted, unhurried. Here, the path before you seems to wind endlessly, leading you through the heart of the village and then beyond, to places unknown, to stories yet untold. You are not sure how far you have walked, or how much further you must go, but you feel no urgency, no need to rush. The village has no clock, no measure of time, other than the slow rise and fall of the moon in the sky and the steady pulse of its quiet breath. You are a part of it now, caught between past and future, between what has been and what is yet to come. The air grows colder as you walk, the chill creeping into your bones, a reminder that night is settling in, that the world outside this village continues to move, continues to change. But here, in this quiet place, time seems to slow, to stretch, and stretch, until it becomes something almost tangible, something you can hold in your hands and feel against your skin. The village holds its secrets, and you, for now, are part of them. As you pass by a row of houses, each one dark and silent, you catch a glimpse of a figure standing in one of the windows, watching you. It is fleeting, just a shadow, but it makes you pause, makes you wonder who else walks these streets at night. Who else carries the weight of time with them as they move through this forgotten place? But when you look again, the figure is gone. The window is empty, the house as quiet as it was before. You continue walking, the path before you now bathed in the soft glow of the moon, the shadows growing longer, more defined. The village, ever watchful, ever silent, moves with you, breathing in the rhythm of your footsteps. holding the secrets of countless years within its walls. The wind stirs again, and as you breathe in the cool night air, you feel the weight of the past settle more heavily upon your shoulders, reminding you that in this village, time is both an anchor and a compass, guiding you through the quiet, endless night. Tar. The village continues to breathe, as it always has, quiet and steady. Its pulse a rhythm that marks the passage of time without ever rushing it. Each stone beneath your feet, each worn beam in the walls of the homes, every tree that stands tall, in the fields or by the roadside, tells the story of those who have come before, their lives embedded deep in the very fabric of this place. The air, crisp with the chill of an impending winter, is thick with the weight of memories, carried on the breeze that stirs the trees and brushes against the walls of the buildings. The path before you is unchanged, the cobblestones still uneven, and worn by countless steps, some raised slightly from years of weather and time, others sunken where water has pooled and frozen over the centuries, now dusted with a fine layer of frost. As you walk, the whispers of the past seem to echo around you, faint, like the wind itself is speaking the forgotten words of generations, their voices fading in the distance, but still ever present, woven into the fabric of the town. Pass a small garden, now quiet and still beneath the thick blanket of frost that covers the ground. The once vibrant flowers have withered and faded, their colors now muted, but the earth beneath them is alive with the memories of their growth. The hedges are trimmed neatly, their outlines defined even in the dark, and though the garden is dormant, there is a quiet beauty in its silence, a reminder that life continues even in the stillness of winter. As you move deeper into the village, the houses become closer together, their stone walls standing firm against the elements, their wooden beams darkened with age. The lanterns that line the streets flicker softly in the cold wind, their faint glow casting long shadows across the cobblestones. Pause for a moment beneath one of these lanterns, its light softening the sharp edges of the night, and for a brief instant the village seems to be holding its breath, as if waiting for something or someone to speak. But there is no sound, only the steady rhythm of your own heartbeat and the wind whispering through the trees. The silence here is heavy, yet comforting, as though it is a space created by time itself, a place where everything is allowed to settle, to breathe, and to rest. The faint glow of the lanterns flickers as the wind picks up, stirring the branches of a nearby tree and causing the leaves to rustle. You continue on, your footsteps echoing softly in the stillness, as the village seems to enfold you in its embrace, each step taking you further into the heart of its quiet mystery. Passing an alley, you catch a glimpse of movement, a shadow crossing a window. It's brief, almost imperceptible, yet it causes a shiver to run down your spine. The window is high up, and you cannot see who or what moved behind it, but the sight lingers in your mind, and for a moment you wonder if you are alone in the village, or if there are others who walk these streets in silence, hidden from view. But the alley is empty when you look again, the soft glow of candlelight spilling out from behind the shutters as though nothing has changed. And you continue your walk, the feeling of being watched fading as quickly as it appeared. The further you walk, the deeper the silence grows. The houses around you are dark, their windows reflecting the soft moonlight, and the streets are empty, save for the occasional flicker of movement in the shadows. It is as though the village itself is a living thing, holding its breath and waiting for something to happen. The only sound you hear is the faint creak of the wooden beams in the buildings as the wind stirs them, the distant call of an owl somewhere in the woods, and the steady rhythm of your own footsteps on the cobblestones. It is a comforting silence, one that has been woven into the very bones of the village, a silence that holds the stories of generations past, of lives lived quietly and without fanfare, their echoes still lingering in the air. You pass a small fountain, its stone basin empty and covered with a thin layer of frost. The water has long since dried up, leaving only the faintest hint of its once vibrant life, now frozen in time. The fountain stands as a silent sentinel, its stone surface weathered and worn, its carvings faded by the passage of years. And yet there is something beautiful in its stillness, a reminder that even in the absence of life, there is beauty in the quiet persistence of time. As you continue on, the village seems to stretch out before you, a maze of narrow streets and hidden corners, each one holding its own secrets, its own history. The further you walk, the more you sense the weight of the past pressing in on you, as if the village is alive with the stories of those who have walked these streets before. Their voices faint but ever present, woven into the fabric of the town. You wonder, for a moment, if you will ever truly understand the village, if you will ever uncover its secrets, or if it will always remain a mystery, its quiet heartbeat echoing through the ages, waiting for someone to listen, to hear the whispers of the past and carry them forward into the future. The path leads you toward the center of the village, where the buildings become more clustered, their walls leaning close together as if in quiet conversation. The air feels thicker here, heavier with the weight of history, and you can almost feel the presence of those who have walked these streets before, their footsteps echoing in your mind. The lanterns cast long shadows, stretching across the cobblestones, and you are surrounded by the quiet stillness of the village, the sounds of the world outside fading into the background. You pause for a moment, taking in the view before you. The village, though small, feels vast, as though it holds within it the entire history of the world. The moonlight shines down on the rooftops, casting a soft glow over the town, and the streets seem to stretch out endlessly before you, a quiet labyrinth waiting to be explored. There is a sense of peace here, a sense of calm that is unlike anything you have felt before. It is as though the village is holding its breath, waiting for something to happen, waiting for a moment that will break the silence and change everything. But for now, there is only the stillness, only the soft murmur of the village's quiet heart, beating steadily, endlessly, through the night. The village breathes through the silence, the night heavy with the weight of centuries, each moment stretching into the next with a languid inevitability. Every building, every street, every alley holds its own quiet history, a story woven into the very stone and wood that make up this town. The moonlight falls softly across the rooftops, casting a silver sheen over the cobblestones, which shimmer as though they, too, remember the footsteps of those who have walked here before. The lanterns along the street flicker weakly in the breeze, their faint glow adding to the surreal stillness of the night. It is as if the world itself is holding its breath, waiting for something, though what that something is remains hidden in the shadows. You walk through the streets, the sound of your footsteps echoing in the empty air, the only sound that breaks the stillness. The cold has settled in, seeping into the bones of the village, and the chill is made even more piercing by the absence of noise. There are no voices in the wind, no laughter or chatter from the windows, no sounds of life from the houses you pass. It is as if the village is caught in a moment of suspended animation, holding its breath, unwilling to exhale. As you walk, you feel the weight of the past pressing down on you, as though the stones themselves are alive with the memories of those who have lived here. The alleyways twist and turn, each one an invitation into the quiet labyrinth of the town. There is something unsettling about the silence, something that gnaws at the edges of your mind, as if there is more to this stillness than meets the eye. You pass under archways carved with ancient symbols, their meanings lost to time, but their presence still a reminder of a deeper history. one that has been all but forgotten. The walls of the buildings are worn smooth by the touch of countless hands, their surfaces etched with the marks of years and the passage of lives. In the distance, the faint sound of a bell tolls, a slow, mournful note that vibrates through the stillness. It seems to resonate with something deep within you, a reminder of the passage of time, of the fleeting nature of life. The bell tolls again, its sound echoing through the streets, its resonance carrying across the village like a shadow stretching out from the past. For a moment you stop, listening, feeling the weight of the bell's toll settle deep in your chest. It is the only sound that breaks the silence, the only reminder that life still pulses beneath the stillness. Sir, as you continue your journey, the shadows seem to lengthen, stretching out from the corners of the buildings and spilling across the cobblestones. The village seems to grow darker, the night pressing in around you, and the soft glow of the lanterns appears all the more fragile against the growing darkness. You pass more alleys, more doors, more windows, each one shuttered tightly against the night, and you wonder what lies behind them. What stories are hidden in the shadows, waiting to be uncovered? The village seems to have 1,000 secrets, each one buried beneath the layers of time. There are no answers here, only the quiet hum of existence, the steady rhythm of a place that has endured for centuries, its heart beating softly but unyielding. Kit, the bell tolls again, its sound a reminder that time does not wait, that it marches forward even in the stillness. But here, in this village, time feels different. It feels suspended, as though the world beyond has moved on, leaving this place behind to exist in its own bubble, untouched by the chaos of the outside world. And yet, there is something beautiful in that stillness, something serene. The village is a living monument to the past, a place where the echoes of history can be heard in every corner, every whisper of wind, every flicker of light. You feel a deep connection to it, as though you have become part of its story, woven into the fabric of its existence. The path narrows, and you find yourself standing before a small chapel. Its wooden doors are closed, but the faint light that flickers from within suggests that life still lingers here, hidden behind the stone walls. The chapel stands in stark contrast to the surrounding buildings, its simplicity a testament to the quiet faith that once lived here. You pause, drawn to it, feeling the pull of its quiet presence. It is a place of solace, a place where the silence feels less oppressive, less unsettling. You step closer, your hand brushing against the cold stone of the building, and for a moment you close your eyes, allowing the stillness to wash over you, to fill you with a deep, comforting peace. The world outside fades away, and for a brief instant, it is just you, the chapel, and the village, caught in a moment of quiet reverence. Bell tolls once more, its sound filling the air, and you feel it deep within your soul, a reminder that the village's heartbeat never stops, that life continues to pulse beneath the silence. The path ahead is clear, and as you walk onward, see, the village seems to breathe with you, its secrets hidden in the shadows, waiting to be discovered. But for now, you are content to let the silence envelop you, to let it become part of you, as you continue your journey through the heart of this quiet, timeless town. The town is now fully submerged in the embrace of night, its heartbeat slow and steady, a rhythm of existence that echoes softly in the walls, in the cobblestones, in the very air that hangs heavy with silence. Every building, every stone, and every shadow seems to belong to the stillness, as if the village itself is holding its breath, waiting for something, though what that something is remains elusive, lost somewhere in the depths of this peaceful yet eerie quiet. The moon hangs high in the sky, casting a soft, ethereal glow over the rooftops, making them appear like silent sentinels, guardians of a time long past. The stars, too, are unusually bright tonight, scattered across the expanse above like a blanket of diamonds, their light flickering faintly as though they, too, are drawn into the hush of the village below. You walk slowly through the streets, the only sound your footsteps echoing softly in the distance, blending seamlessly with the murmurs of the wind, which carries with it the scent of earth and the lingering traces of wood smoke from hearths long since extinguished. The alleyways stretch ahead, their darkened entrances offering glimpses of what lies beyond quiet courtyards, hidden gardens, and empty windows that reflect the faintest glimmers of moonlight. Yet, despite the stillness, there is an undeniable sense of life, as if the village is not dead but merely resting, caught in the delicate balance between wakefulness and sleep. You pass beneath low archways, their stone surfaces weathered by centuries of hands that have touched them, leaving their marks, their stories etched into the fabric of the town. The air is cool but not harsh, the night itself offering a sense of calm that is both comforting and unnerving in its depth. The only light comes from the faint glow of lanterns, their glass dimmed by the years, casting pools of light that shimmer across the cobblestones, drawing patterns that seem almost alive in their movement, as though the shadows themselves are dancing to a rhythm known only to the town. The silence grows deeper as you continue walking, the town enveloping you in its quiet embrace, as if you are becoming part of its fabric, its pulse, its ancient story. It is the kind of silence that speaks without words, the kind that settles deep in your chest, a presence that makes you feel both small and infinite, a fleeting part of something that has existed long before you and will endure long after you have passed. You stop for a moment, standing in the center of the street, your gaze lifted to the heavens above, where the stars seem to swirl in their own delicate dance. A reminder of the endless expanse of time that stretches far beyond the limits of the village, far beyond your own fleeting existence. The night is so clear, so still, that it feels as though the world itself is holding its breath, caught in a moment of perfect quiet, as if time itself has paused, waiting for the next chapter to unfold. The faint sound of a distant bell tolls, its notes slow and measured, echoing softly through the stillness. And for a brief moment you feel as though the village is alive, that it is breathing, just as you are. The toll of the bell fades into the distance, swallowed by the quiet, but its presence lingers in the air. A reminder that even in the deepest stillness, there is movement, there is life. You resume your journey, your steps slow and deliberate, bare, as though each movement is part of the town's rhythm, part of the pulse that keeps it alive, even in the darkest hours of the night. The buildings around you stand like silent witnesses, their walls weathered by time, their windows darkened by years of slumber. Yet they hold within them the stories of countless lives that have passed through this place, each one leaving a trace, a mark, a memory. You walk past an old well, its stone rim worn smooth by generations of hands that have drawn water from its depths, its surface now still and empty, reflecting the pale light of the moon as if it, too, is waiting for something to happen. The quiet is profound here, the absence of sound so complete that it seems as though even the earth itself has fallen asleep, its breath soft and steady beneath your feet. You pass by a small garden, its paths overgrown with ivy and creeping plants, their leaves rustling softly in the breeze, creating a faint melody that blends with the wind's song. There are no flowers in bloom, no signs of life in this quiet corner of the village, but the sense of peace is undeniable, a deep calming presence that seems to flow from the very earth beneath you. You wonder for a moment if the village is waiting for something, some event, some change that will break the silence and bring life back to its streets, or if it is simply content to remain in this timeless state of rest, where nothing stirs except the occasional rustle of leaves and the soft sigh of the wind. The thought lingers as you continue, your footsteps soft on the cobblestones, the night wrapping itself around you like a blanket, the stillness growing thicker with each passing moment. There is something comforting in this quiet, something that fills you with a sense of belonging, as though you are not an outsider but a part of something much older, much larger than yourself. The village feels like a memory, like a dream that has been woven into the fabric of time. A place where the past and present coexist in perfect harmony, where every stone, every wall, every shadow has a story to tell. You pause once more, taking a deep breath, inhaling the crisp, cool air that carries with it the scent of the earth, the wood, the stone, the essence of the village itself. In this moment, you are both a part of the village and apart from it, caught in the delicate balance between existence and oblivion, between being and nothingness. The moon continues its journey across the sky, casting long, thin shadows that stretch across the street, elongating as if they, too, are waiting for something. The quiet is all-encompassing, wrapping itself around you like a cocoon, and for a moment you wonder if the village will ever awaken from this peaceful slumber, if it will ever break this silence that has settled so deeply into its bones. But for now there is nothing but the night, the moon, the stars, and the steady, unbroken pulse of the town. And you continue onward, your footsteps soft and sure, knowing that you are part of the story, part of the silence, part of the eternal rhythm that keeps the village alive, even in the deepest, most profound quiet. As the night draws to its inevitable close, the first hints of dawn begin to creep across the village, pushing the shadows back into their quiet corners and gently lifting the veil of silence that has blanketed the town for so long. The sky, which had been a deep, unyielding black, now begins to take on shades of pale blue and soft purple, a slow gradient of light that signals the arrival of the new day. The moon, which has watched over the village with unwavering patience throughout. The night begins its slow descent, its pale light dimming as the sun makes its quiet approach. The buildings, once shrouded in mystery and shadow, now take on a new form as the light spills over their weathered surfaces, revealing the intricate details that were hidden in the darkness, the moss-covered stones, the faded wood, the carvings, doors and windows, each one a testament to the years that have passed, the lives that have unfolded within these walls. The streets, which had seemed so empty and still just hours before, now seem to stir with a quiet energy, as if the town itself is waking up from a long and peaceful sleep, stretching out in the early morning light, ready to embrace the new day. The faintest breeze stirs the air, carrying with it the cool, earthy scent of dawn, mixing with the remnants of wood smoke from the night before and the fresh, dewy fragrance of the grass that has begun to emerge from beneath the frost. It is a moment of transition, a time when the village exists in that brief, fragile space between night and day, a place where the past and present seem to collide in the soft light of morning. As you walk through the quiet streets, you feel the weight of the night lifting, replaced by the gentle, welcoming warmth of the day that is just beginning to unfold. The cobblestones beneath your feet, which had seemed so cold and distant in the darkness, now feel solid and familiar, grounding you in the present moment. Buildings, once dark and silent, now seem to hum with the promise of the day ahead, their windows slowly coming to life as the light seeps in and fills the rooms with warmth. The town, once wrapped in the quiet embrace of night, is now gently emerging into the daylight, its pulse steady and strong, its rhythm slow and measured. There is a sense of peace in this moment, a sense of quiet satisfaction, as though everything in the village is exactly as it should be, existing in perfect harmony with the world around it. The air feels fresher, the sky clearer, and for the first time in hours, the stillness seems to have softened, replaced by a sense of quiet anticipation, as though the town is ready to begin again, to take on the day with the same patience and calm that it had embraced the night. You pause for a moment, standing in the center of the street, watching as the first rays of sunlight begin to touch the rooftops, turning the frost into a delicate glitter, catching the light in 1,000 tiny prisms that seem to shimmer in the early morning glow. The town is not yet fully awake, but you can sense the change, the shift from the deep quiet of night to the gentle activity of the coming day. It is as if the entire village is holding its breath, waiting for the world to come alive once more, ready to embrace the day with a calm and steady heart. The bell in the tower tolls once, its sound clear and resonant in the stillness, a signal that the night has ended, that the new day has begun. It is a quiet sound, a simple sound, but it carries with it the weight of centuries, the echo of all mornings that have come before and all the mornings that will come in the future. The town, once frozen in time, is now awakening, its heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of the world outside. As you continue your walk, the streets seem to grow busier, though still slow and deliberate in their movement, as though the villagers are rising one by one, stepping into the light of the new day with quiet grace. The windows that had once been dark are now lit from within, casting warm, inviting glows onto the cobblestones, and you can hear the faint sounds of life beginning to stir footsteps on the stairs, the rustle of curtains being drawn open, the soft murmur of voices carried on the breeze. The village is not rushing, but rather moving in its own time, following the gentle rhythm that has always been its way. It is a rhythm that speaks of patience, of acceptance, and of quiet resilience, a rhythm that has carried the town through countless nights and countless mornings, each one blending seamlessly into the next day. The world outside is waking up, but here, in this village, the change is gradual, unfolding with the same slow, steady pace that defines this place. The sense of peace that had settled over the town during the night now lingers in the morning air, carried by the soft breeze and the quiet sounds of life beginning anew. It is a peace that is not rushed, not forced, but earned through the quiet passage of time, through the patience and care of the generations that have walked these streets before. As you continue your walk, the town around you comes to life more fully, but it does so with a quiet dignity, as if the new day is simply another moment in the long, unbroken story of this place. The sky, now fully light, casts a soft, golden glow over the town, turning the buildings into a tapestry of light and shadow, of history and memory. The rooftops, now clear of frost, seem to stretch toward the sky, as though reaching for the soon that is rising higher with each passing moment. The cobblestones, now warm beneath your feet, seem to pulse with the energy of the town, carrying with them the stories of the past and the promise of the future. The air is still cool but beginning, too warm, carrying with it the promise of a new day, a day that will unfold just as the village always has, with quiet grace, deep with patience, and with the deep unspoken understanding that time moves on. But here, in this place, everything will always return to the stillness, to the peace, to the quiet embrace of the night that will inevitably come again. You take a deep breath, feeling the calm of the village wrap itself around you once more, knowing that the town is ready for whatever the day may bring, just as it is always ready for the night that will follow. The sun climbs higher in the sky, and the day begins. But the essence of the village remains unchanged, a testament to the timeless cycle of life and rest, of waking and sleeping, of the quiet, steady rhythm that keeps the heart of this town beating, day after day, night after night, in perfect harmony with the world around it. Ka. The town was blanketed in the soft embrace of twilight, the fading sunlight casting long shadows over the cobbled streets. The air was thick with the scent of wet earth, mingling with the faint trace of flowers that had bloomed earlier in the season. The day was drawing to a close, and with it, the rhythm of the town slowed, a steady pulse that seemed to echo the collective breath of its people. As you moved through the quiet streets, each step felt heavier than the last, as though the very stones beneath your feet were whispering their own secrets. The houses, now cloaked in darkness, stood like silent sentinels, their windows reflecting the dying light of the day, each pane a mirror to the past. There was an unspoken peace in the stillness, a deep, abiding calm that settled in the bones, urging you to move forward with no destination in mind. The world seemed to have paused, holding its breath for what was yet to come. You walked further into the town, each step guiding you deeper into the heart of its history. The buildings seemed too close in around you, their stone walls heavy with the weight of centuries, and the soft whispers of time carried on the breeze. Each corner you turned, each path you followed, was a thread leading you back through the memories of this place, a place that had seen the rise and fall of countless stories, where every stone, every wooden beam, held a memory of those who had passed through before you. The lanterns above flickered weakly in the growing dusk, casting fleeting shadows across the cobbles, as if the town itself was slowly succumbing to the pull of night. As you reached the square, the stone well stood. At its center, still and unmoving, like a silent witness to all that had come before. The water, which once filled its basin, was now long gone, replaced by frost that glittered like tiny diamonds under the pale moonlight. The benches surrounding the square were empty, their worn surfaces polished by years of use, inviting rest and reflection in the midst of the gathering quiet. The town seemed to hold its breath in these moments, suspended in time. The distant sound of the brook, once lively and full of purpose, now flowed softly in the background, a lullaby sung to the stars above. The air grew colder as you stood there, looking out over the familiar yet distant scene. Everything felt familiar, but something had changed, as though the town itself was preparing for something, waiting for a final chapter to be written in its long, slow story. It was a place that would always remain in memory, unchanging, a sanctuary for quiet reflection, a cradle for the peace of the past. But it was also a place at the crossroads of endings and beginnings. As you continued walking, the air grew heavier with the weight of silence, wrapping around you like a thick blanket, suffocating yet soothing. The streets of the town seemed to shift, each turn revealing new perspectives, yet the feeling of timelessness remained constant. The old stone buildings, with their weathered facades and moss-covered roofs, whispered stories of lives long past. You passed by the small gardens, now barren under the frost, the once vibrant flowers now reduced to quiet memories beneath a layer of ice, as though nature itself had retreated, awaiting the warmth of another season. The benches you passed seemed to invite you to sit, to take a moment and breathe in the deep, ancient peace that the town offered. But you continued forward, drawn by the quiet pull of something deeper, something that transcended the simple stillness of the present. Kiss, as the moon climbed higher in the sky, casting its cold, pale light across the cobbled streets, you felt a growing connection to the place, as if each stone beneath your feet, each crack in the walls, was telling you something you couldn't fully grasp but knew in your bones. The echoes of countless footsteps from days long gone reverberated through your mind, and it was as though you were walking not just through a town, but through the very fabric of history itself, woven together by the lives that had come before you. The sound of your footsteps, muted against the cobblestones, was the only sound breaking the stillness, as though the entire town was holding its breath, waiting for something. You paused for a moment, taking in the view from a small hill that overlooked the town. The rooftops spread out before you like an intricate quilt, the chimneys rising like silent sentinels, their forms etched against the deep, starry sky. From here, the town seemed both vast and intimate, a place where every corner held a story, every shadow a memory. The faint hum of a distant brook reached your ears, the sound almost lost in the quiet of the night, as though it, too, was fading into the silence. The weight of the moment pressed down on you, and you felt as if you had become one with the town itself, a part of its long, slow rhythm, its breath, its story. It was a place of endings and beginnings, a place where the past and present intertwined, where time stood still, and yet it moved inexorably forward. The air seemed to grow colder, the night deepening around you, but there was a sense of peace in the stillness, a peace that settled over you like a comforting cloak. You turned away from the hilltop view, continuing your journey through the town, your footsteps following the winding paths that had long since been carved by those who had walked this way before you. The narrow lanes, flanked by ancient stone walls and wooden beams, seemed to beckon you forward, each turn offering a glimpse of a different part of the town's soul, a different layer of its history. As you walked, the town began to feel less like a place and more like a living entity, its heartbeat resonating in the quiet, in the spaces between your steps, in the stillness that surrounded you. You passed by the old stone well once more, its surface covered in frost, the water long gone, replaced by ice that shimmered in the moonlight. The well, once a source of life for the town, now stood as a quiet monument to the passage of time, a symbol of both the endurance and fragility of existence. You couldn't help but stop, your gaze lingering on its weathered stones, and for a moment the silence seemed to stretch out, as if the entire town had come to a halt, waiting for something to happen, something to shift, something to bring this long, peaceful chapter to a close. The lanterns above flickered weakly, casting brief shadows across the path, and the distant sound of a bell tolling, faint but steady, filled the air, a reminder of the passage of time, of the inevitable march forward. Yet, even as the bell tolled, there was a sense of calm, of acceptance, as though the town, the land, and everything within it had come to terms with its place in the world, its purpose in the grand tapestry of life. You resumed your walk, the soft crunch of frost beneath your feet, the only sound breaking the stillness. The streets seemed to grow narrower, the buildings more closely packed together, as though the town itself was wrapping you in its embrace, drawing you closer to its heart. The faint glow of candlelight flickered through the windows of the houses you passed, offering glimpses of life within a family gathered around a hearth, a flicker of movement behind drawn curtains, the quiet rhythm of a world still turning, still alive. You continued on, your mind drifting between the present and the past, between the quiet of the town and the echoes of those who had walked these streets before you. The night deepened, and the air grew colder, but the town remained wrapped in its gentle peace, as if it had always been this way, timeless, enduring, unchanging. And in that moment, you realized that this journey, this final walk through the town, was not just a walk through a physical space, but a walk through time itself, a journey through the stories and memories of those who had come before, and those who would come after. The moon shone brightly above, its light illuminating the path before you, casting long shadows that stretched across the cobblestones, guiding you onward, guiding you home, guiding you home. The night deepened, drawing a heavy veil over the town, yet the streets still whispered with the quiet hum of ancient memories. Each corner you passed felt as though it held a secret, each stone beneath your feet a part of a forgotten story. Still, the shadows grew longer, the moonlight colder, casting an ethereal glow over the cobblestones as you continued your journey through the quiet town, now feeling more like a living entity than a place. The buildings, once steadfast in their stoic silence, now seemed to breathe with you. Their stone walls worn and weathered by centuries of winds, storms, and the quiet passing of time. You passed the old fountain, its basin dry, the water long gone. But the stone still stood, solid and unyielding, much like the town itself. It had seen countless changes over the years, countless footsteps crossing its threshold, yet it remained an unspoken witness to the passage of time. The gentle hum of the night wrapped around you, filling the space where words would have been. And for a moment, you felt as though you were no longer walking through the town, but walking through the very fabric of its history, through the echoes of those who had once lived here. There were no sounds now, no voices breaking the stillness, only the soft sound of your own breathing and the rhythmic crunch of frost beneath your boots. You passed the windows, their faint glimmers of light offering a quiet reminder that life continued inside, even if the town itself seemed frozen in time, as if every soul had momentarily paused to witness the quiet unfolding of the universe. The trees, their branches bare and reaching like skeletal arms toward the sky, stood as silent sentinels, watching over the town as it slept beneath the moon's watchful eye. The paths narrowed as you ventured further into the heart of the town, the air thick with a sense of reverence, as though the streets themselves held their breath. The sense of finality was palpable, as though you were nearing the end of a long journey, a journey that had begun long before you stepped foot into this town. The wind whispered through the trees, carrying with it the scent of pine and the cold, earthy fragrance of the land. The weight of centuries seemed to rest upon your shoulders, but there was no fear, no anxiety, only a deep, abiding peace. A peace that had settled over the town like a blanket, enveloping it in a quiet stillness that was almost sacred. Came upon the narrow bridge that spanned the quiet stream, its wooden planks creaking gently underfoot as you crossed. The water below shimmering faintly, reflecting the stars above. The brook flowed slowly, its gentle murmurs the only sound that broke the deep silence, a reminder that even in the quietest of places, life continues to move, silently, steadily, beneath the surface. As you reached the other side, the town stretched before you, its ancient buildings rising from the earth, like the bones of a long-forgotten civilization. The road before you wound upward, leading you to the highest point in the town, where the rooftops spread out beneath the moonlight like a patchwork quilt, each house a part of a greater whole. Each window, each door, each stone in the road a piece of a story that had been told countless times, a story that was as old as the town itself. As you climbed, the wind grew colder, the air thinner, but you pressed on, the final destination drawing nearer with each step. You reached the summit, the view stretching out before you, the town lying at your feet, bathed in the soft silver glow of the moon. The stars above twinkled brightly, like diamonds scattered across the velvet sky, and for a moment you felt as though you were standing at the edge of the world, the entire universe spread out before you. The sense of peace that had enveloped the town now settled into your bones, a deep, unshakable calm that filled every part of you. And for the first time, you understood this town, with its quiet streets, its silent witnesses 2 times. Passing was not just a place, but a living, breathing entity. A place where the past and present coexisted in perfect harmony. And as you stood there, gazing out over the town, the realization came to you. This was the final revelation. The moment when everything fell into place, when the journey, long as it had been, came to its inevitable conclusion. There was no need for words, no need for explanations. The town had told its story through its streets, its buildings, its silence, And now, as the night deepened around you, you felt as though you had become a part of that story, a part of the timeless rhythm that pulsed through the heart of the town. Q took a deep breath, the cold air filling your lungs, and for the first time in what felt like forever, you felt truly at peace. The journey was over. The town had revealed itself to you, and now there was nothing left but to rest, to let the quiet embrace of the night carry you away into the soft, endless sleep that awaited you beneath the stars. The moon hung high in the sky, casting its soft light upon the town, turning the cobblestones beneath your feet into a delicate web of shadows and silver. The wind had quieted, and the air was thick with a palpable stillness, a sense of waiting, that seemed to stretch into eternity. As you walked, the soft crunch of frost beneath your boots was the only sound that broke the silence, and it felt as though the world had been paused, holding its breath, allowing you to move through it without disturbing its fragile peace. The buildings that lined the narrow streets stood like sentinels, their stone walls weathered and worn by centuries of wind and rain, yet still standing strong, unyielding in their quiet endurance. The lanterns that hung from iron brackets on the walls flickered faintly, their glass cracked and dusty, casting a weak, ghostly glow across the path ahead. They were old, these lanterns, and had seen countless nights pass by, yet they continued to burn, offering their dim light as a guide through the darkness, as though stubbornly refusing to surrender to the inevitable. You passed by the old fountain, its stone basin dry, the water long gone, yet the fountain remained, a silent witness to the passage of time, its presence a reminder of all that had come before. The cobblestones underfoot were worn smooth in places, their edges rounded by the countless footsteps that had walked these streets before you, each footfall adding to the quiet history of this town, each step a small piece of the story that had been unfolding long before you arrived. The town felt ancient, not in the way of crumbling ruins or forgotten places, but in the way it held its secrets close, the way its buildings and streets seemed to breathe with a life of their own, a life that had been passed down through generations, a life that had never truly left. It was a place suspended in time, where the past and the present existed side by side, woven together into a seamless tapestry of stories and memories. The alleys were narrow and dark, their entrances framed by thick weathered doors, some ajar, some closed, but all of them offering a glimpse into lives lived quietly behind those walls. As you passed by, the faint smell of wood smoke and baking bread lingered in the air, mingling with the cool, crisp scent of the night. It was a town that was alive, but not in the way that cities were, with their noise and chaos and constant movement. No, this was a place that thrived in the quiet, in the spaces between words, in the moments that stretched on just a little longer than they should, as though the very air around you was steeped in the memory of a time long gone, a time when life was simpler, slower, but no less full of meaning. You reached the square at the heart of the town, where the buildings opened up to reveal a small open space, a place where people once gathered, where the stories of the town had been shared, where the pulse of the town could be felt most clearly. Now, however, it was empty, save for the faintest traces of the past, the faint outline of old benches, the worn edges of the cobblestones, the remnants of a time when this square had been alive with the voices of the townsfolk. The fountain at the center of the square was still there, though it too had long since run dry, its basin filled only with fallen leaves and the occasional frost, sparkling faintly in the moonlight. It was as if the town had stopped moving, stopped living, and had been left behind, suspended in the quiet of the night, waiting for something to awaken it once more. You stood there for a moment, taking in the silence, feeling the weight of the years pressing down on you. It was a silence that wasn't oppressive, but rather comforting, like a blanket that had been carefully folded and placed around you. A silence that invited you to rest, to listen, to become a part of the town's history, streets, the buildings, the fountains. They were all part of the same story, part of the same rhythm that had been pulsing through the town for centuries. It was a story that had been told over and over again, in the quiet moments, in the spaces between words, in the pauses between footsteps. It was a story that belonged to the town, but also to you as you walked through its streets, as you moved through its history, leaving your own mark upon it, as it had left its mark upon you. And as you stood there, in the heart of the silence, you realized that this was the town's gift to you, not the noise of the world, not the rush of life, but the quiet, the stillness, the space in which you could hear yourself think, hear, tick-tick, the whispers of the past, and in doing so, become part of that history. You could feel it now, the heartbeat of the town, slow and steady, pulsing through the ground beneath your feet, through the very air around you, and in that moment you understood. The town wasn't waiting for something to happen. It wasn't waiting for life to return. It was alive, just as it always had been, in its own way, in its own time. And as you walked on, you became a part of that rhythm, a part of the quiet, the stillness, the heartbeat of a town that had never truly stopped living. The night unfolded like an old, well-worn story. Each step you took along the cobbled street drawing you deeper into the narrative of this ancient town. The moon, now high in the sky, bathed everything in its cool, silvery light, turning the buildings around you into silent sentinels, their stone walls heavy with the weight of centuries. The windows were mostly shuttered, but here and there, a faint glow escaped from behind the slats, a reminder that life, though quiet, still thrived in these homes. As you walked, the streets seemed to tighten around you, the buildings pressing in closer, their wooden beams overhead bending slightly as if to listen to your every movement. The air was crisp, carrying with it the sharp scent of wood smoke, and the occasional rustle of leaves disturbed by a stray breeze was the only sound that broke the silence. There was something about this place, something deeply serene, that made the hours stretch on, dissolving into each other like layers of time blurring together. The town, it seemed, had its own rhythm, its own heartbeat that pulsed softly beneath the ground, felt only by those who chose to listen carefully enough. You moved through it as if in a trance, each footstep adding to the quiet symphony that played in the stillness. The path before you curved gently, leading you toward the distant silhouette of the chapel that stood at the edge of the town, its steeple rising high into the night sky, visible even from this distance. The closer you got, the more you could make out the details, the ancient stones that made up the chapel's walls, the weathered roof that had stood firm through countless storms, and the tall wooden doors that had creaked open and closed for generations. You could almost hear the prayers whispered within, the soft murmur of voices carried on the wind, blending with the sighing of the trees and the rustling of the grass that grew wildly around the chapel's base. It was as if the town itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen, yet perfectly content in its stillness. The chapel was the heart of this place, not because of its size or grandeur, but because of its quiet presence, its constant reminder that life, though fleeting, was connected to something much larger, much older. You stepped onto the worn stone path that led up to the chapel, the stones cool and smooth beneath your feet, polished by centuries of footsteps. The closer you got, the more the town's silence seemed to press in around you, a heavy blanket of peace that settled over your shoulders, urging you to slow, to reflect, to become one with the history that surrounded you. As you reached the chapel's doors. You paused for a moment, your hand resting lightly on the cool wood, feeling the weight of all that had come before the prayers. The hopes, the quiet moments of solitude shared within these walls. The doors creaked softly as you pushed them open, the sound a low, groaning whisper that seemed to echo in the stillness. Inside, the chapel was dimly lit by the flickering light of candles that burned in quiet corners, casting dancing shadows, corns on the stone walls. The air was thick with the scent of incense, a faint trace of cedar and frankincense that mingled with the cool, musty scent of stone. It was a smell that spoke of time, of rituals passed down through generations, of the quiet endurance of a town that had weathered both storms and peace in equal measure. You moved slowly down the aisle, the soft click of your footsteps on the stone floor the only sound that accompanied you. The pews were empty, save for a few scattered pieces of discarded parchment and a single withered flower that had been left behind, perhaps by someone who had come to pray, to seek solace, to remember. The altar stood at the far end, simple and unadorned, the wood worn smooth by the hands of those who had knelt there over the years. Above it, a stained glass window depicted scenes of saints and angels, their colors muted by the layers of dust, kitty and age, yet still beautiful, still radiant in their quiet way. The light from the candles flickered in the glass, casting faint patterns of color on the stone walls, as if the chapel itself was breathing, its pulse felt in the flickering of the flames and the sway of the shadows. You paused in front of the altar, your eyes resting on the simple cross that stood there. The wood darkened with age, its surface worn smooth by the touch of countless hands. It was a symbol of endurance, of sacrifice, of the quiet strength that had carried this town through the centuries. It reminded you that life, though fragile and fleeting, was still connected to something much larger, something timeless. The town around you seemed to breathe with a quiet pulse, the walls of the chapel, the streets outside, all part of the same rhythm, all linked together by the weight of history and memory. As you stood there, in the quiet embrace of the chapel, you felt the weight of time pressing down on you, not in a burdensome way, but as a gentle reminder of the transience of life, of the fleeting nature of moments, of the beauty found in stillness and reflection. The chapel, like the town, had stood for centuries, weathering both the storms of nature and the storms of the human heart. It had seen countless generations come and go, each one leaving behind its own mark, its own story, but all connected by the same thread, the same quiet rhythm that had pulsed through the town since its very beginning. You let out a slow, steady breath, the stillness of the chapel wrapping around you like a soft cloak, and for a moment you simply stood there, allowing yourself to be part of this timeless place, part of its quiet story. The world outside could wait, for here, in this moment, you were at peace, connected to something much larger, much older, much more enduring than yourself. The town and the chapel, with their weight of history, would continue on long after you had gone, their quiet heartbeat echoing through the ages, reminding all who passed through to pause, to listen, to reflect. And as you stood there, in the heart of that silence, you understood. Time, like the town, was both fleeting and eternal. And in its quiet embrace, you had found a moment of peace that would last forever, forever. The night was wrapped in an ethereal quiet, as though the town itself had been carefully tucked beneath the stars, hidden away from the world's hurried pace. The cobblestone streets, familiar and comforting beneath your feet, seemed to stretch, take out endlessly, leading you deeper into the embrace of the night. The houses, their ancient stone and weathered wood holding secrets of countless generations, stood in solemn companionship, their windows dark but not empty, as if each house contained its own whispered stories, waiting to be shared when the time was right. Glow from the street lamps, pale and soft, cast long, stretching shadows across the path, and you could hear the distant rustle of leaves stirred by the night air, the only sound that dared to break the stillness. The moon, high and full, hung above the town like a guardian, its light weaving through the branches of the trees and illuminating the tops of the buildings in soft silver. It was a night that seemed suspended in time, where the boundaries between the present and the past were thin, as though you could step through them with the merest thought, and find yourself walking beside those who had once called this town home. As you walked, your steps slow and steady, the weight of the evening seemed to settle around you like a blanket, urging you to pause, to take in the simple beauty of this peaceful world. The town had a pulse, a quiet heartbeat that could be felt here, in the way the stones of the streets shifted beneath your feet, in the way the buildings leaned toward each other, as if seeking the comfort of shared existence. You passed the old oak tree that stood at the corner, its twisted branches reaching skyward, silhouetted against the backdrop of the starry night. Beneath it, a small bench rested, its surface worn smooth by years of use, and you paused for a moment, letting your fingers graze the wood, feeling the years of stories and memories embedded in its grain. It was a spot where many before you had sat, lost in thought, gazing up at the same stars that twinkled overhead, each one a tiny beacon in the vast expanse of the night. As you continued down the street, the distant sound of a bell ringing softly in the tower reached your ears. It was a quiet sound, deliberate and slow, as though it had no rush to meet its end, lingering in the cool night air, resonating with the timeless rhythm of the town. The sound echoed through the narrow alleyways, spilling into the courtyards and gardens, wrapping itself around the houses and buildings, a lullaby sung by the town itself. You turned the corner and found yourself at the edge of a small square, the center dominated by a fountain, long dry but still standing, its stone edges worn and smooth from the touch of countless hands. Around the fountain, benches curved, their wood polished by years of use, and the faint scent of rosemary and thyme lingered in the air, carried by the breeze. The square, though empty, felt alive with the presence of all who had passed through it, each one leaving behind a trace of themselves in the stillness. As you stood there, you couldn't help but feel a connection to the town, a sense of belonging that was deeper than time, deeper than memory. It was as if the place itself had reached out and wrapped you in its embrace, its quiet peace seeping into your bones, slowing your breath and stilling your thoughts. There was no rush here, no need to hurry or be anywhere else. The world beyond the town, with its noise and chaos, seemed distant and irrelevant, a mere shadow on the horizon. Here, in the soft glow of the moon and the delicate dance of shadows, you were part of something enduring, something eternal. The town, with its stone streets and wooden beams, its quiet gardens and forgotten corners, held memories in every crack, every weathered stone. It was as if the walls themselves whispered the stories of those who had lived here before, of the laughter and tears, the joys and sorrows that had been shared under the watchful gaze of the stars. And as you walked deeper into the heart of the town, the weight of all those memories, all those lives, seemed to settle around you, a quiet presence that carried you forward. You moved past the homes, their windows dark, yet somehow full of life, as if each one held a secret waiting to be discovered. You past the doorways, their wooden frames adorned with ivy and flowers, some faded, others vibrant, a reflection of the passage of seasons, of life that had come and gone in quiet rhythms. The town was a testament to time, to the slow, steady march of years, each one leaving its mark in subtle ways. The rooftops, covered in layers of moss and tiles, told the story of generations who had lived beneath them, of families who had gathered around hearths and tables, shared meals and laughter, and whispered their dreams into the quiet night. You turned another corner, and the chapel came into view, its stone walls rising against the night sky like a quiet sentinel. The tall, narrow windows, their glass dimmed by age, glowed softly from within, and you could almost hear the echoes, scent of prayers that had been whispered there, prayers that had risen like smoke to the heavens. The chapel, though old and weathered, still stood strong, its presence a symbol of faith, of endurance, of the deep connection between the people and the place they had called home. It was a reminder that even in the quietest corners of the world, there was life, there was love, and there was hope. You stood there for a moment, taking in the sight of the chapel, feeling the weight of its presence, and then, without a word, you continued on your way. The town was still, its heartbeat soft and steady, and as you walked through it, you felt yourself becoming a part of it, like one of the many whispers that had once filled the streets, now fading into the night, but never truly gone. The town, like the stars above, was eternal, and in its quiet embrace you had found a home. The night stretched out before you, a vast canvas painted with shadows and soft moonlight. Each step you took along the cobblestone street feeling like an extension of the town's silent rhythm. The pulse of its heartbeat syncopated with your own. The homes on either side, their time-worn stones darkened by centuries of weather, loomed quietly, as if observing your passage. Their windows dark, yet somehow alive, as though they were waiting for the stories of the night to unfold within. The air was cool, crisp, carrying with it the faint scent of dried leaves and wood smoke, a mixture that spoke of the changing seasons and the quiet transition of time. As you moved deeper into the heart of the village, the familiar sounds of the night, the rustle of the leaves in the trees, the faint creak of an old door, the soft murmur of the brook as it wound its way through the town wrapped around you, like a protective cloak, keeping the rest of the world at bay. There was a stillness here that could not be found elsewhere, a deep, unspoken peace that settled over everything. From the rooftops, dusted with the remains of the day's sun, to the narrow alleyways, where the shadows clung to the corners like forgotten memories. With each step, you felt as though you were becoming a part of this quiet rhythm, an unspoken connection between you and the town that could not be broken, no matter how far you wandered. The night seemed endless, each corner of the village holding its own story, its own quiet mystery, waiting to be uncovered. A soft breeze stirred the branches overhead, sending a ripple of movement through the leaves, and for a moment it felt as though the town itself was breathing with you, sharing in the peace of the night. The street you walked down was lined with old stone walls, ivy creeping up their sides like veins connecting the past with the present. And ahead, you could see the faint outline of the old mill, its silhouette cutting against the night sky, a silent sentinel that had witnessed the passage of so many years, so many lives. You paused for a moment, taking in the stillness around you, letting the cool air fill your lungs, and for a fleeting instant, you could almost hear the whispers of those who had come before, their voices carried on the wind, blending with the sound of the night. The mill, though quiet now, had once been a bustling heart of the village, its gears turning day and night, grinding the wheat that fed the community, its walls filled with the hum of work, the laughter of children, the shared stories of neighbors who had gathered here over the years. Now, it stood in solemn silence, its wooden doors locked tight, its windows dark. But there was a sense of reverence in its presence, as though it had earned its rest after years of service. The town had evolved, as towns always did, but the old mill, like so many other relics of the past, remained a testament to what had come before. to the lives that had been lived and the work that had been done. As you walked past it, you could almost see the workers in the doorway, their hands covered in flour, their faces bright with the satisfaction of a day's hard work. The sound of their laughter, the clink of metal against stone, seemed to echo faintly in your mind, a ghostly reminder of the life that had once pulsed within these walls. But now there was only silence, the kind of silence that comes with the passage of time, with the slow unfolding of history that cannot be rushed or forced, but instead must be allowed to unfold at its own pace. The lane ahead of you began to widen, opening into a small plaza, the stones beneath your feet worn smooth by generations of footsteps, and in the center of the plaza a statue stood, weathered by the years but still proud, still unwavering in its place. It was a simple thing, nothing grand or ornate, but there was a quiet dignity in its form, a reminder of the strength and resilience of the people who had once stood here, looking up at it, perhaps drawing comfort from its presence, perhaps finding solace in its stillness. The statue's face was worn, its features softened by time, but its posture remained strong, a figure frozen in the moment of a lifetime. You stood there for a moment, studying it, feeling the weight of its quiet presence settle over you. There was something about it, something timeless, that seemed to speak to the very heart of the village, to the deep, unspoken connection between the past and the present. The wind picked up again, carrying with it the faintest hint of rosemary and thyme, a reminder that the town was still alive, still breathing, still growing. The branches of the nearby trees swayed gently, their leaves rustling softly in the breeze, and as you continued your walk, the sense of connection only deepened. The village, with its stone walls and ancient buildings, its quiet streets and hidden corners, felt like a living thing, its heart beating in the rhythm of the night, its breath coming in gentle whispers that filled the air. There was a sense of peace here, of belonging, that you couldn't find anywhere else. And as you moved further into the heart of the town, it seemed as though you were becoming a part of that peace, a thread woven into the fabric of this quiet, timeless place. The buildings around you, their walls thick with the weight of history, leaned toward each other like old friends, their surfaces softened by years of weather, by the slow, steady march of time. You could feel it in the air, the weight of all that had come before, the lives that had been lived in these streets, the moments that had passed unnoticed but had somehow found their way into the very bones of the town. Each step you took was a step deeper into that history, deeper into the town's story, and for a moment it felt as though you were walking not just through the streets, but through time itself. The town had seen so much, had witnessed the ebb and flow of countless lives, and yet, through it all, it had remained quiet and steadfast, its heartbeat unchanged. And in that moment, as you stood there, taking in the stillness of the night, you realized that you were not just a visitor in this place, but a part of it, woven into its fabric, a quiet echo in its long, unbroken history. The wind stirred the leaves again, and you began to walk once more, your steps slow, deliberate, as though you were walking in time with the town's heart. The path ahead was long, but there was no rush, no need to hurry. The town would wait, for you, as it had always waited for those who had come before. There was nowhere else to be, nowhere else you needed to go. The night, the town, and the stars above all seemed to wrap you in a soft embrace, inviting you to pause, to breathe, and to become a part of the quiet, enduring story that had unfolded here for so many years. The first light of dawn began to break over the horizon, casting a soft, golden hue across the quiet village. The streets, still shrouded in the shadows of the night, slowly began to awaken, though the pace was leisurely. as if the town itself was taking a deep breath, reluctant to leave the peaceful embrace of sleep. The air was cool and crisp, carrying with it the lingering scent of wood smoke and the faintest trace of the herbs that grew in the gardens along the narrow lanes. The cobblestones beneath your feet seemed to shimmer in the early light, their smooth surfaces reflecting the soft glow of the rising sun. As you walked, the town began to stir around you, but there was no rush, no hurry. The rhythm of life here was slower, more deliberate, each moment stretched out, savored as it passed. The sound of birds singing softly in the trees and the gentle rustling of leaves in the breeze were the only sounds that filled the air, a reminder of the peaceful, almost timeless nature of this place. The houses on either side of the street stood still, their stone walls bathed in the soft light of the dawn, each one carrying the weight of countless years of lives lived and stories told. The windows, once dark and quiet, now reflected the first rays of sunlight, and behind them you could almost imagine the soft movements of those who had lived here for so long, hands stirring in the kitchen, feet padding across the wooden floors, voices speaking in quiet tones as the day began to unfold. The town's heartbeat, though steady, was slow and rhythmic, like the gentle pulse of a heart at rest. It was as if everything here was in perfect balance, the moments of stillness and action blending seamlessly together, creating a calm, soothing atmosphere that seemed to settle deep into your bones as you walked further into the heart of the village. The path began to narrow, winding its way through the quiet alleys and past the gardens that lined the homes. The plants, their leaves still damp from the cool night air, seemed to glisten in the morning light, their colors rich and vibrant against the soft backdrop of the gray stone walls. The scent of lavender and rosemary mingled with the freshness of the dawn, filling the air with an earthy sweetness that seemed to ground you in the present moment. The quiet was so deep here that it felt as though you could hear every leaf flutter, every breath of wind that passed by. Even the buildings, with their weathered stones and darkened wooden beams, seemed to breathe in time with the world around them, as though they, too, were waiting for the new day to fully unfold. As you passed through a small courtyard, you stopped for a moment, taking in the stillness that surrounded you. The fountain, long dry, stood silently in the center, its basin cracked and worn with age. The stone benches that circled it were empty, their surfaces smooth from years of use, but now quiet, waiting for the next soul to rest there. The world felt suspended in time, each moment drawn out in a perfect, unhurried rhythm. Above, the sky was beginning to lighten, the first colors of the day spreading across the heavens in shades of pale pinks and blues. The stars, once bright and bold in the night sky, had begun to fade, leaving only a faint reminder of the silent watch they had kept over the village. As the light grew stronger, the shadows began to retreat, the corners of the alleyways and the edges of the buildings, slowly being filled with the warmth of the sun. The streets, once dark and mysterious, now seemed to glow with a soft, welcoming light. You took a deep breath, letting the cool morning air fill your lungs, and felt the weight of the night's stillness slowly begin to lift. The town, still, sleepy, was starting to stretch, to come alive with the quiet energy of the new day. You could hear the distant sound of a door creaking open, followed by the soft murmur of voices rising from behind the shuttered windows. The town was awakening, but it was not in a rush. It moved at its own pace, slow and steady, like the ticking of an ancient clock, each second measured and deliberate. The world outside the village, with its faster pace and constant noise, felt far away now, as though it belonged to another time, another place. Here, time moved differently. It was not marked by the ticking of clocks or the rush of traffic, but by the rhythms of nature, by the rising and setting of the sun, by the passing of the seasons, by the quiet exchange between the people and the land. You continued down the narrow path, passing the old stone walls and the gardens that seemed to hold the secrets of the village, each one a quiet reflection of the life that had been lived here for so many years. The flowers, still wet with dew, stood tall, their colors bright and vivid against the gray stones, and the air was filled with the gentle hum of bees and the rustle of leaves. It was as if the world was waking up slowly, each moment stretching into the next, filled with promise and potential. Soth, the town, though ancient and weathered, felt alive with the quiet energy of a new day, and you could not help but feel connected to it, as if your very breath was woven into the rhythm of the village itself. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, Stair, the streets began to fill with the quiet bustle of the day's activities. People stepped out from behind their closed doors, their faces soft and familiar, their movements deliberate and calm. The market, though small, was already beginning to fill with the smell of freshly baked bread and the sound of quiet conversation. The air was thick with the scent of the earth, of the fresh produce, of the herbs and flowers that lined the stalls. It was a place of simple, quiet beauty, where the pace of life slowed to match the rhythm of the world around it. Q watched as the villagers went about their day, each person moving with purpose but without hurry, each one a part of the greater whole, a piece of the village's ongoing story. The world outside may have been rushing forward, but here, time, moved at a different pace. It was a rhythm that spoke of generations, of memories that stretched back through the years, of lives that had been lived in harmony with the land. Kent, as you stood there, watching the world awaken around you, you felt a deep sense of peace, a sense that this moment, this quiet dawn, would last forever, that the town would remain as it always had, timeless and enduring, a place where the world could stop and take a breath. The sun climbed higher, its warmth filling the streets, but the quiet peace of the morning remained. The town, still sleepy but alive with the energy of the day, felt as though it had always existed, as though it was meant to be exactly as it was, in this moment, in this time. And as you continued your journey through the quiet streets, you knew that this place, this timeless village, would always be a part of you, a piece of the story you carried with you wherever you went. Its peace, its rhythm, its quiet beauty would stay with you forever. The sun's rays had begun to stretch across the cobbled streets, spilling their warmth into the town with the slow, deliberate grace of a new day. The village, though small, seemed to possess a life of its own, its pulse steady and unwavering, like the beat of a heart that had been thumping for centuries. As the morning fog lifted, the quiet streets came alive with the soft rhythm of daily life, each sound, each step, weaving together in harmony. The soft hum of the village was like a song that had been sung for generations, an endless cycle of beginnings and endings, of faces seen day after day, of routines worn smooth by time, the scent of freshly baked bread wafted from the bakery, a warm invitation to those walking by, while the sound of clinking tools echoed from the blacksmith's shop, a constant reminder of the town's quiet industry. The market square, though not crowded, held a quiet energy, each vendor preparing their goods with careful hands, as if the act of offering something to the world was an art to be savored. You could feel it in the air, the unspoken connection, between the people and the land, between the villagers and their history, a bond that tied them together in ways that words could not fully express. The old stone walls of the town, weathered by years of rain and sun, stood as silent sentinels, guarding the secrets of the past, of lives lived and memories made. Each crack in the stone seemed to tell a story, each weathered beam, each worn door, holding within it the echoes of laughter, of conversation, of shared moments under the stars. As you wandered further into the heart of the village, the familiar sounds and smells of everyday life surrounded you, But it was the stillness that stood out the most. It was the kind of stillness that only small towns seemed to possess. Quiet, almost sacred hush that wrapped the village in a soft embrace, making you feel as though you had stepped into a timeless place, where the outside world was far, far away. The chatter of the marketplace, the calls of the vendors, the shuffle of feet across the stones, all of it blended into a soft melody, a lullaby of life, steady and unhurried. The village did not rush. It moved at its own pace, a pace that was dictated not by clocks or deadlines, but by the natural rhythms of the earth, by the rising and setting of the sun, by the changing of the seasons, by the simple pulse of existence. You could hear it in the wind, in the rustling of the leaves, in the soft creak of the wooden doors as they opened to let in the morning light. Everything had its place, its rhythm, and you, as a visitor to this quiet world, were a part of it, if only for a moment. As you made your way down a narrow alley, the stone walls rose up on either side of you like old friends, the ivy that clung to them swaying gently in the breeze. The town's path wound this way and that, never straight, never hurried, always adapting to the landscape, to the hills, to the corners and nooks that had been shaped by years of passage. Each twist and turn was like a note in a song, a small part of a larger, ever-evolving melody. The houses that lined the streets were small, but sturdy, built with a sense of care that could only come from generations of understanding the land, and the work it took to make a home. The windows were framed with flowers, some still blooming despite the early chill in the air, their colors vivid against the muted stone. The doors, made of weathered wood, stood open or ajar, offering a glimpse into the quiet, well-kept interiors, where the warmth of a fire crackled in the hearth and the scent of stew simmered on the stove. Every corner of the town seemed to breathe with history, and yet there was no sense of burden or weight. It was as if the past had shaped the present, not in the form of old memories, but as an ongoing living story that was being written every day. The village had not aged. It had simply lived, and in that living it had gathered stories that were carried by the wind, whispered between the trees, and passed down through the generations. As you walked, you noticed how the sunlight danced off the rooftops, casting long shadows that stretched across the cobblestones, like memories stretching back into time. The town seemed to be holding its breath, as though it was aware of something that you, as a visitor, could not fully understand. The buildings, the paths, the people, everything was in its place. Yet there was a sense of anticipation in the air, as if the town was waiting for something yet to come. And for a moment you wondered if this sense of waiting was what made the village so timeless, so enduring. It wasn't the buildings or the streets that held the town together. It was the way the people lived, the way they respected their land and their traditions, the way they had found peace in the simplicity of their lives. Soon had risen higher now, its rays bathing the town in a soft, golden light that seemed to illuminate everything it touched. The leaves on the trees shimmered in the sunlight, their edges crisp with frost, while the flowers in the gardens opened up to the warmth, as though they had been waiting for the sun's embrace. The town was coming to life, not with the hustle and bustle of a busy city, but with the slow, steady rhythm of a place that had learned to live in harmony with the world around it. The morning was young, and there was still so much to see, so much to experience. But for now, you were content. For now, you were simply here, a part of the quiet, timeless heartbeat of the village, breathing in the peaceful air and letting the town's rhythm guide you forward. As the day unfolded before you, you could feel the weight of time lift from your shoulders. In this village, there was no rush, no need to hurry. The day would come, and it would pass, as it always had, in its own time, at its own pace, and in that peace you found a sense of belonging, not to a place or a time, but to the steady, unbroken pulse of life itself. The first light of dawn gently kissed the rooftops, the soft glow of the sun spreading slowly over the town as it began to awaken from its peaceful slumber. The air was crisp and fresh, carrying the faint scent of dew-soaked earth and the distant aroma of wood smoke rising from chimneys. A light breeze whispered through the narrow streets, carrying with it the soft rustle of leaves still clinging to their branches, while the birds, small heralds of the day, began to sing their quiet songs from the treetops. The town, though, quaking, still moved at its own deliberate pace, as if it too needed a moment to adjust to the shift from night to day. The sounds of the village soft footsteps on cobblestones, the distant clink of a blacksmith's hammer, the low murmur of conversations beginning in the markets melded together like the first notes of a song that had been played countless times before, its melody comforting in its familiarity. There was no rush here, no hurried steps to meet the demands of a ticking clock. Instead, the town stretched its arms into the new day with the slow, deliberate rhythm of a place that had long ago learned the value of stillness, of taking time to savor the small moments that so often went unnoticed. A child's laughter echoed faintly from behind the gate, a reminder of the life that flowed like an undercurrent through the streets, unseen but always present. The morning fog, now lifting, left a soft haze hanging in the air, blurring the edges of the houses and the distant hills. The town seemed to exist in a liminal space where time was neither hurried nor slow, but simply was unfolding in its own perfect way. You could hear the soft creak of an old wooden door as it opened, followed by the gentle footsteps of someone stepping out to greet the day. The light reflected off the stones in the street, casting long, soft shadows that stretched toward the hills, where the morning sun was just beginning to touch the trees. Everything in the town felt connected to the land, to the rhythms of nature that shaped the passage of time. The houses, their stone walls worn smooth by years of weather, seemed to breathe with the life of the town, as if they, too, were part of the living, breathing landscape. Each crack in the stone, each small flower growing between the cobblestones, was a testament to the enduring spirit of this place. It was as though the town itself had become a part of the earth, its roots sinking deep into the soil, its branches reaching up toward the sky. There was something sacred in the stillness of the morning, in the way the world seemed to pause just long enough to let you take in its quiet beauty. The market square, though still empty of vendors, hummed with potential, its stones awaiting the footsteps of those who would come to buy and sell, to exchange goods and stories. In the distance, the first sign of life appeared a lone figure making their way down the path, carrying a basket of fresh bread, the soft round loaves still warm from the oven. The figure's movements were slow, unhurried, as though they were savoring the moment just as much as the bread they carried. The streets, though empty now, would soon fill with the quiet bustle of daily life. Children would race past on their way to school, merchants would open their stalls, and the soft murmur of voices would rise and fall like a gentle tide. But for now, there was only the stillness, the breath of the town held in a quiet, patient pause. As you walked through the streets, the sounds of the morning became more defined, the scrape of a broom against the cobblestones, the clink of a shovel as someone began to clear the frost from the path, the faint laughter of a couple greeting each other at a corner. It was the kind of quiet that didn't feel empty. Rather, it was full, rich with the promise of the day to come. The town's pulse, slow and steady, continued to beat in the background, a constant reminder that life here moved at its own pace, without the pressures of the outside world. The houses, each one different, each one unique in its own way, stood side by side in a perfect, quiet harmony, They were not just structures. They were a part of the town's soul, its identity. You could see it in the small details, the carved wooden shutters, the flowers growing in window boxes, the bright pots of herbs hanging from the door frames. These were the things that made the town feel alive, that made it feel like a place worth pausing for. Each step you took brought you deeper into the heart of the village, where the rhythm of life was steady and unbroken. The streets, though, narrow and winding, felt welcoming, as though they had been waiting for you to walk down them, to notice the small wonders that might otherwise go unseen. In the distance, you could hear the faint sound of a bell tolling, its notes drifting on the morning breeze. It was the kind of sound that carried weight, as though it held within it the history of the town, the memories of all those who had walked these streets before you. Bell did not toll often, but when it did, it seemed to mark the passing of time, the quiet unfolding of the day. The light grew brighter now, and with it came the first true stirrings of the town's daily life. The doors of the houses began to open one by one, and the people, some young, some old, emerged into the streets. The market square began to fill with the low murmur of conversation, the clink of coins exchanging hands, the soft shuffle of feet across the cobblestones. But, even as the town came to life, there was still a sense of peace, a sense that nothing needed to be rushed. The day would unfold as it always had, slowly, steadily, in its own time. The warmth of the sun, now higher in the sky, touched the stones of the town, casting long shadows across the street. The air was still cool, but there was a hint of warmth now, a promise that the day would be kind. You could feel it in your bones, that slow, steady rhythm that was unique to this place, a rhythm that moved in sync with the world around it. It wasn't a loud, boisterous sound, but a quiet hum, a pulse that could be felt in the soft wind, in the sway of the trees, in the steady beat of the town's heart. As you walked, the quietness of the morning remained with you, a reminder that in this place life was not measured by the ticking of the clock, but by the slow, steady rhythm of the earth beneath your feet, by the rising and setting of the sun, by the simple, unhurried movement of the world. The day was just beginning, and already the town felt as though it had been there forever, its roots running deep into the land, its soul entwined with the rhythms of nature. And in that moment you realized that in this quiet village there was no need to rush. Everything, in its own time, would unfold as it always had. As the final rays of sunlight dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the quiet streets, the village seemed to exhale, as though it too was ready to surrender to the night. The once bustling lanes now stood still, save for the occasional rustle of leaves stirred by a soft evening breeze, or the distant sound of a door closing, marking the last moments of activity before the world settled into rest. The buildings, worn with time but enduring in their quiet dignity, stood like sentinels over the sleeping town, their walls holding within them the stories of generations, their roofs quietly absorbing the fading warmth of the day. The streets, though empty now, still hummed with the faint echo of footsteps from those who had walked before, each one adding to the rich tapestry of life that had unfolded in this place, day after day, year after year. In the distance, the last of the market's vendors began to pack up their wares, their movements slow and deliberate, as if they too were part of the rhythm of the town that had carried on for centuries. The sound of their carts, creaking with the weight of the day's work, was the final note in the symphony of the village's waking moments, the soft finale to a day that had begun with the quiet stirrings of life at dawn. And now, as the stars began to twinkle above, the night crept in like a blanket, wrapping the town in its cool embrace. The glow from a single lantern still flickered faintly in the window of the inn, casting a soft, welcoming light onto the cobblestones below, while, within, the soft murmur of voices could be heard. A last conversation before the long rest. The village was not simply a place. It was a living, breathing entity, its pulse steady and sure, a rhythm that had not changed for as long as the earth had spun beneath its feet. It was a place where time was not measured by the ticking of a clock, but by the rise and fall of the seasons, by the turning of the earth, by the steady beat of hearts that had come and gone, leaving behind only memories and the soft imprint of their lives. Town's final breaths were slow, deep, and peaceful, as though it had reached the end of its journey and was content to rest, knowing that it had been everything it was meant to be. As the moon rose higher in the sky, its pale light filtering through the branches of the trees, the village seemed to sigh, the soft rustle of leaves the only sound in the night. The stone walls, the wooden beams, the cobblestones that had borne the weight of countless footsteps, one now lay quiet, still, as though the town had found its perfect place in the world. The sky above was clear, the stars scattered across the vast expanse, each one a distant reminder of the infinite universe beyond. But in this little corner of the world, the night felt safe, contained, wrapped in a silence that was not lonely, but full of stories yet to be told. And in the stillness, the town seemed to close its eyes, its breath slow and steady, its heart beating quietly in the rhythm of the earth beneath. It was the end, but also the beginning. The night would pass, and the dawn would come again, bringing with it the promise of another day, another cycle of life in the quiet, enduring town. But for now, all was still, all was peaceful. The town had rested its weary bones, and the world around it had slowed to a gentle hum. The stories of the day were complete, and now, in the quiet embrace of the night, there was nothing left to do but rest. The last breaths of the village were soft and slow, fading into the peaceful silence, as it prepared to greet the next chapter in its quiet, unhurried life. The moonlight touched everything gently, as if caressing the town one last time, before the darkness of the night fully enveloped it. The stars twinkled overhead, silent witnesses to the passage of time, and the village stood as it always had, strong, enduring, and at peace. In the quiet of the night, the final note of the village's song played softly in the distance, a melody that could never truly end, for the town would live on in the hearts of those who had walked its streets, in the stories passed down through generations, in the echoes of footsteps long gone but never forgotten. And as the world continued its endless spin, the village, in its own way, remained forever, nestled quietly in the embrace of the earth, the rhythm of its life continuing in the soft, steady beat of the world around it, forever at rest.